Awesome.
All right. We'll call the meeting to order, and Becky, would you call the roll, please?
I sure will. Jim Sheeline,
Here.
Jennifer Dallas. Here. Tom Kitson. Tom Kitson,
Present.
Mike Book,
Here.
Nancy Naylor,
Present.
Reed Acree,
Here.
Jason Anderson.
Here.
Thank you.
I'm assuming everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes. Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the minutes, moved by Dallas, seconded by Kitson. Kitson? I think that's the third time I've gotten it right. I'm getting better. I want to medal next time. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. We're going to move without objection. We're going to move EMA to the sheriff's time. And so we'll start off with animal control. Terry, I saw Terry wandering around. Let's see. We got a chair for you, Terry. Come on up. All right. What we've been doing is we've got new folks. And as we go through things, we'll just have the department heads kind of do a little quick overview of your department and, before we get into your numbers and answer any questions that the committee may have. So Terry, I'll, talk about what animal control is doing and what's going on.
Morning. Well, our main job is public safety. We take complaints, welfare calls, bites. We take care of all that. Compliance with rabies vaccines and registration. That's the most of it. And of course, paperwork is always there. We have a full house, more so. But we're busy, very busy. We've done a couple things this year that we've never done before. We went to Pride Fest, and I don't know if you guys want to know this, but I think it's kind of fun. Pride Fest and the Petunia Fest, and went in the parade and kind of showed off a couple dogs. And kind of get the word out there that we're not a bad place.
Any questions for Terry? And we know that you're not a bad place.
Yeah, I know you know, but.
Yes.
Terry, and I know you send a lot of dogs to rescues and stuff. Do we put any dogs down anymore?
I am to that point right now where there's going to be some that are going to be euthanized, yes. I have to say, since COVID-19, people have, it's like throwing something out of your car, like they don't care. So we do have to take those in. People relinquish, people will bring in their dogs that are theirs and they say they're not. People don't reclaim their dogs. I had one that we got from, well, two dogs. One was adopted to a family member. The other one we still had, and we aborted puppies. She was pretty close to being due, but I didn't know that when she came in. But it's just things that have to be done. It's reality. But the adoptable dogs, I still have, but the ones that have been, we feel crated or, not in a good situation that wouldn't be adoptable, I'm making a time for the vet to come and put some down.
All right.
Yeah.
How many,
Yeah, it is.
we still pick up dogs, correct? I mean, if
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we
I have
have.
a stray dog in my yard, I know what to do with it, I
Yep.
call you and you come.
Yep.
How many of those do you get a year, would you guess, or a month? I mean, is it a lot?
Right now, I have 17. I have 17.
But is that in a,
But
what's the time
that's-
frame to pick up? I mean, how many
So-
do you, and I'm just curious, it's no.
It's kind of, I would have to do some numbers, I guess, because like this one lady that relinquished, there was 3 of them. So sometimes we could get 1 in a day, sometimes we could get 5 in a week. It's just,
Okay. What happens if, I'm asking a curious question.
Mhm.
what happens at 7 o'clock tonight? The stray dog comes in my yard and I can't walk out to my car because it growls at me. You guys aren't there.
Yeah, so a lot of times they'll call, depending on where you're at, they'll call county or they'll call like Dixon officer.
Okay.
And they will come and get it. They have a code to get in. So they can, if they can get the dog, they will bring it in usually.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Terry? We'll get into the numbers. Reed?
Yeah. I'm trying to get the screen share to work.
Oh, okay. Any large animal stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Usually welfare. So we'll work with the Department of Ag if they
Might help.
don't comply with what needs to be done. But yeah, we'll take large animal also.
Working.
Now,
We
how do you handle
impound-
like if you have to, take a horse?
So
whatever,
we
what do you
can
do with that?
impound on property. That means we did that with sheep one time.
Mhm.
So that means that the owner of the property cannot do anything, but it's a burden on us to have to go make sure they're fed and watered.
Mhm.
In fact, we got sheep feed that time because I didn't know what to feed them other than that, but we ended up going to Sublet Farmers and getting some the elevator guy.
There you go.
Yeah,
Not a bad guy.
yeah. That's where we get our feed. So it's the first person I thought of.
Yeah, you always hear, and thankfully, we haven't heard of one for a while, but, every now and again, you get those farms where people have taken in animals and they can't take care of them, and all of a sudden.
Well,
it's-
just a couple of weeks
spirals out of
ago,
control.
I had that situation when the deputies called me on the way home. I had to go someplace and he gave me a call and he's like, I have this situation. I'm like, okay. So I was close to home. So I ran home, got a bale of hay. There was 2 horses. One horse had gotten out and by the time I got there, he had gotten the horse back in. But we were trying to make sure they were in a specific area. And so we drug a water tank. It was, no.
Wow. Running into all kinds of stuff, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Okay, Reed,
Yep, I got her up
walk
there.
us through.
So, pretty consistent. We were pretty good on our estimates last year. Not a whole lot of changes to our draft budget for this year. I guess one thing to point out with the animal control funds is the statutes and ordinances that allow us to collect fees essentially make the animal control department self-sufficient and does not rely on funds from the general fund. This year we're continuing to add to fund balance in both the animal control fund and pet population. So I don't know if there's any expenses that you want to dive into that maybe Terry can talk about what they are, but pretty consistent with last year. I guess the one big difference, well, it's a decrease in expenses, but we purchased a new vehicle within animal control this year. So that's that $60,000 transfer. And I don't think it was even that much to begin with, but it was closer to 40 or 45.
Right.
And that came from,
So we just since animal control
Yes, like the
fund
budget,
itself
yeah.
had enough funds, we transferred that money out to capital just to make my life a little easier at the end of the year, to not have to look through every single account for fixed assets to capitalize them. Try to keep all of the capital assets purchased within capital.
Yep. Okay, anybody see any questions they want to ask in regards to Terry's budget? Just out of curiosity, Terry, do you know because the the cat tags are relatively new.
Mhm.
Is that on par with dogs, or is it still?
It's still doing, it's doing okay. I have some people, I should say the vet clinics sometimes don't quite understand if it's a barn cat that they don't get a tag. So the next year that that cat is due, people will call and be like, "Oh, this is a barn cat." And I'll look at their address. If it's out in the country, I'm like, I just,
Right.
I don't make them, I let them know though, if you can catch the cat, to have it vaccinated because, we want to keep rabies, of course, down.
Right.
So, and a lot of people cooperate. They're pretty good.
All right. Well, quick and easy. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it for coming in. Thanks for what you do for us.
Thank you. Got to go back to work.
Yep. All right, next is maintenance. Eric, Mr. England, come on up.
Morning. You.
All right. Well, what's going on in maintenance? As said before, we've got new folks on the finance committee so introduce yourself and.
Yep, I'm Eric England, Facilities Director for the buildings and grounds. We take care of everything, that, or
Oh,
at least
yeah,
try to.
make sure, getting yelled at by Becky. Get it.
I'm a year, just a little over a year in this position. Kind of got handed a lot, I feel. We have a lot of deteriorating buildings, equipment, ground, all of it. So we're just trying to clean it up the best we can and keep trucking.
Right.
So.
Can you, for somebody that's new, can you explain what buildings, we got buildings all over the county, don't we?
Sure. The main ones we deal with, this building, old courts, new courts, 911, animal control, the LEC, food
LEC.
pantry, the sheriff's department,
Law Enforcement Center.
food pantry, animal control, and now the old jail as well. So there's 7 there, 8 if you want to include highway,
Highway.
but we haven't really been out there much at all.
For good reason.
Right. Well, they've been kind of taking care of their own stuff, so.
Right.
So yeah, we have a department of 8, including myself. 3 custodians, 4 maintenance techs. And a lot of fires to be put out.
You do most all your work in-house, or do you have to contract work out?
We have a lot of maintenance agreements, with subs that come in. We have subs that come in daily almost. But if I had my way, we'd try to do everything in-house, but it's impossible. I would need another 15 people. 8, 7, including with myself is 8.
But you've done a lot. It's just like.
Yeah, we've done a lot of back-to-back,
Yeah.
large projects, decent projects. It's, I don't see a stop to that, but it's kind of hard to balance, kind of new projects or open projects versus preventative maintenance.
Right.
So we're trying to, we're getting there.
Right.
It's going to take a few more years to really get a good flow, I guess.
Right. And you've had some challenges as far as turnover in
Yeah,
staff. so-
we had four turnover the first few months. So we have almost a new department. But yeah, I'm happy with it so far. I can't really ask for a better team. I wouldn't mind more, honestly, but,
So when you have a problem, who do you report?
a problem for,
Well, any kind of an issue you need to address personnel wise, or is Jeremy
yeah.
the go-to person?
Between Jeremy and, Tom Wilson.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So there's a separate committee.
Right.
Buildings and property.
So looking at the budget, the 25% increase on maintenance agreement, what's the projection for, what's that for?
And that's actually, I think, a little short. Actually, no, it isn't short. I think we're at 150 if I'm right.
Yes.
You know, there was a little bit of struggles with maybe coding invoices correctly and putting them, you know, what is a maintenance agreement versus an over, like, this is outside our scope of a maintenance agreement. So in the early months that I started, I think there was a lot of added invoices or claims that really shouldn't have been in there. But I'm forecasting, I think we're gonna be short like 21,000 in our general, in that line item this year.
Will that be enough for you, looking at your run rate for this year? Is it because of the
No.
coding?
Yeah, this year I think we're at 120
On the budget.
in that
Just-
line item. Yeah, we're gonna be short 21-ish.
Am I reading that right? That it's projected to end.
I mean, some of it is just timing of those invoices, right? Like that run rate number is basically just taking all of our expenses over the last 8 months and saying, if we project out, it's going to be the same over the last 4, that's where we'd get. But it could be that we've paid some annual maintenance contracts all in 1 month and it's just slowly getting spread out. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily take that 179 number as gospel. But yeah, I mean, we're at 119 now, so.
Is it so subjective? Do you have a plan, like, is there a plan, like, to do this, that, I mean, I know it's hard because you're probably putting out fires, right? So it's, how do you differentiate putting out the fires versus making like a maintenance? Is
We
there a
have,
routine?
we have a
Do
routine
you?
plan,
Okay.
yep, and we keep looking at this and trying to tweak it as much as possible. I mean, we just had iPads handed out to the techs, you know, a few weeks ago, so we're still kind of in baby steps as far as preventative maintenance.
And I think we'll get into that conversation, you know, because we're not going to do his capital budget on this meeting. We're going to circle back when we do capital. And then we can get into what's the future look like?
Okay.
And, you know, what you're projecting out on what needs to be done down the road.
I have one
Yes,
question.
go ahead, Nancy.
Eric, do you have any idea? I know we have a lot of service agreements. I see those go through claims and I know most of them are year agreements. Have you had any, do you have any suspicion or do you have any notification that any of those are going to go up? Is it too early?
I'm sure they'll go up.
What are you thinking? 10% maybe, 20?
I would say between 3 and 6%.
Okay,
I think last
okay.
year is what.
No, that
What
was
they
the
kinda-
difference?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think those work. I just wondered if you were able to foresee that.
They're gonna
ahead.
go up.
Yeah, okay.
It's inevitable between labor and
Yeah, that's what I.
parts,
parts.
everything is going up.
Well, I see going through them, some of them only include certain things as well. So when they come
Right.
for maintenance, if there's something else, then we have an additional charge. So
Right.
I understand and respect that.
I know the maintenance agreement line item was definitely a little out of whack.
Okay.
This year.
I know it's hard to predict and I know they all come to it a little differently. So.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric? All right. pretty vanilla budget, so no real surprises. So when we come back and do capital, I'm sure that'll be a little bit different conversation. So thanks for
Bring
coming
your
in.
sleeping bags.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Eric.
Eric. Appreciate it. All right, next is Highway Department, Mr. Anderson.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
What do you want to know?
What's going on in maintenance
Okay,
department? What's going on in your
yeah,
world?
Just give you just the brief stats, right? So 220 miles of road under county jurisdiction, about 80 bridges. We also work closely with 22 townships in the county. Collectively, they're at about 950 miles. I bring that up, something I can go over a little bit later. Have 9 maintenance staff, 1 foreman, 1 assistant, and an office manager on staff. We have had a little bit of turnover this year due to retirement. Had my foreman retire. Guy that was the mechanic is now the foreman, so hired a new mechanic. Working out super. That was my biggest concern. Our mechanic was an ace. Before he was there, we did have to send a lot of trucks out to shops. I don't think in his, 8 years he was a mechanic, we ever sent a truck out. Maybe once that I'm not thinking of, but like almost never. So he was adept at using the diagnostic tools and stuff. So yeah, it costs a little bit of money, like $3-4 grand a year to keep that up, but it's well worth it. So anyway, got another very good mechanic. Very happy with the maintenance staff we have. Very happy. So we have 4 funds that you budget for. Well, okay, and I should also say we do solid waste through this department as well. And maintain these 6 dumpsters you see around the county for District General. Recyclables, and then also run an electronics collection there at the Highway Department. That, in terms of getting rid of that stuff, is pretty low cost. It's essentially free unless we're a little underweight when we send it, or we send items that aren't covered, by statute. But generally, that's $100 or something a load. It's no big deal. It could be $500 a year. It's not a big thing. The bigger expense is we do hire a temp from a temp agency to take care of taking all that stuff in, getting it sorted out correctly, palletized, and all that. I just don't have the staff to do that and sort of pay attention to it all day long as the stuff's coming in. So we have the solid waste budget, but then we have county highway, county special bridge, county FAS county matching, and county MFT. Those are the ones that you budget for. But then we also have some other funds that we deal with quite directly that you don't budget for, but they have to do with the township. So you have township motor fuel tax money. You don't budget that because it is by law the highway commissioner's decisions and so forth. They budget that, but we set all their work up for them. Okay, and that's all rooted in statute. That's the reason why we do that. So we set up, usually well over $2 million a year for them. So we set that up. We do.
Well, then, just
we do
to
the
be
engineering.
clear, just so everybody understands, that money does not flow through our books in any way, shape, or form. That's
Not in your
all held
books.
in
It's kept in the-
Springfield.
It's kept in the treasury.
Oh, does that flow? I always thought the township stayed in Springfield. No.
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 It's kept in the treasury, and it flows through there. It's just not under
Yeah,
your purview
so
budget.
if you're looking at our audited financial statements, it would be in the agency fund section. So
Okay,
it's,
all right.
it is money that are in bank accounts under our tax ID number, and we are the custodians of it, but it is not our money. So we hold it on behalf of the townships.
That goes to show that I don't read all the way to the back of the book. So
It's shorter.
Okay.
It was only 67 pages this year. It used to be
But-
115.
Here's-
you fell asleep
Here-
at page 3.
Here's what you may be thinking
Thanks,
of.
Mr.
yeah.
Treasurer.
Excuse me, here's what you may be thinking of, though. Let me back up a step. There's also township bridge funds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and you know, I don't want to really go into all the details of that right now, but that's again, somewhat similar, and those funds only flow in when we're doing a township bridge, we're actually constructing one. That's another one. But what you're, I think, thinking of is our federal money. And that's county allotted federal money. And that never touches our treasury.
Okay, you're right. Yep.
We do a federally funded job. That's all kept at IDOT. And we do the job. We do all the engineering on the job, phase 1, 2, 3. Job's over. Whatever the split is, usually 80-20, federal, local, they send us the bill for 20%. We give them a check. So that stuff never hits our treasury.
Right.
But, excuse me, again, it's a fund that we manage with IDOT. I mean, I keep track of it, but we never see it.
Okay.
Yep.
See, finance chairman learns things through this process right along with everybody else.
So that's kind of it on the finances. Any other questions in general? That's
Yes, questions for
real brief
Dave?
overview there.
Okay, all right, Reed, let's go run through the numbers.
Sure.
Which one you got up first? Highway?
We can do highway, yeah.
Okay.
I guess the big question that I would have for you, Dave, is
Yep.
I know last year we reduced that property tax levy just a little bit from what you asked for. I think it was maybe 100,000 at the end of the day. I guess is that levy going to be good for you this year? That, you know, because it's, you know, less 100 of what you asked for last year. So just wanted to make sure that that is a good number for you.
So, like I
I mean,
should.
that is your number that you provided, but I guess I just mean, we reduced it a little bit last year from what you asked for. So I just want to make sure it's enough
Yeah.
going
and-
forward for this year.
And the number I plugged in there, it's just a plug number because I know you guys adjust things as you go after you go through all these hearings. So I just simply plugged in a 3%. That's all it was. So,
Increase off of what you had to do with last year.
correct.
Okay.
And that's just that's just a plug number to stick in there. So you got a number to put in there. And then I know things get shuffled around just a little bit. So more to answer Reed's question. I put together a spreadsheet for each fund where I essentially predict as best I can the cash balance at the end of the budget year, so at the end of 2026. And I can give those to you if you want. And if it were to be knocked 100,000, I'm going to say that we would still be in an okay cash position come at the end of 2026 if all the kinds of projections come out exactly the way I think they might, which they won't, but I would hope they're close. That answer your question there, Reed?
Yep.
Okay. I would say a couple of things on there that you might see that are big changes from 2025 as you look like the second to last line. There's $650,000 plugged in there and only 100,000 this year in the highway construction line item. That $650,000 that was plugged in there was actually money I negotiated out of a wind farm road use agreement. Okay, and so I have yet to actually spend that. That's going to be the project that goes down inlet into Sublette. That's all contracted out. Contractor hasn't been there yet. And that money, that 650 is going towards that project. Okay, so that's going to be all spent out. And that was a one-time sort of source of funds. The 100,000, and then I just plugged in 100,000 there. And that 100,000 is maybe anticipating some engineering cost on a new facility, perhaps. But just put that in there so it was there. and we had a source to continue on with that project if we can.
So that's the big swing on
That's the swing.
and then the year to date, why
Yeah.
the spend is.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Dave,
And, yeah, go ahead.
there's a 26% increase in healthcare. That's not premium increase, is it? Is it more people or?
The health part, I leave up to these guys.
So one, it's going to be maybe a slightly different mix since he has had a little turnover and people changing. I think what I looked at was, hey, what is our monthly cost right now with the mix of people that he has? And then factored in our premium adjustment, which is going to be about 14%
Oh, it's
increase.
14%.
Yeah. So, the mix, depending on who you have and depending on life changes for each one of those employees, right? They don't always have the same coverage. So, I think that's probably what is accounting for the majority of the change. Maybe the person that left was on single coverage and person we hired is on family, right?
Is there a policy where if a employee has a spouse that's got health insurance, that they don't have county insurance, but they go on their spouse's?
There is that policy. I think they can still have our insurance, but it is a secondary insurance, not the primary insurance. So, but yes, they have to have, if their spouse has insurance provided at their work, they have to have that as primary.
But when the county becomes the secondary carrier, the premium goes down?
No, but our health insurance costs would likely not be very high, right? So it might not be an immediate, we wouldn't see it necessarily in the premiums, but we would probably see it in the premiums over time.
Okay, are we at all self-insured or fully carried with a commercial carrier?
We're through Blue
We're-
Cross Blue Shield.
We're kind of a
but
hybrid.
It's a hybrid because we're within like
So there's a 6,000, we're a high deductible Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's $6,000 is the deductible for the employees. But the county covers, basically it's of that 6,000, 1,400 is out of pocket for the employee. So that first 6,000, 46 of it is covered by the county through self-insurance under that high deductible.
Okay.
So that's why I say hybrid.
and we're part of a group of other municipal entities within Illinois, IPBC. So that helps in terms of cost sharing. I think, Nancy, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more. I don't go to all the insurance committee meetings, but I believe over this past year, we have experienced higher expenses than we have in the past. And maybe in the previous years, we were kind of lower and taking our fair share, getting that premium reduction because of being in that group. But yeah, this year we're getting hit with
That's fine. That's satisfying.
Dave,
Yeah.
on the township bridge engineering reimbursement revenue, or no, that's not the line. The next line down. Townships, you just aren't doing, you're anticipating they're not going to be doing as much bridge work this next year, or?
So part of what I took out of that was, it's interesting. So
It just stuck out because you reduced it.
yeah,
almost
yeah, I
50,000.
reduced it because normally we do all the MBIS bridge inspections for all the townships, which amounts to 120 bridges a year, and we charge for that. IDOT has said that they are going to be taking control of all that.
Oh,
So they're hiring a consultant to do that. So I kind of just backed that out of there. Which
at a higher
It's-
cost probably.
is, which is fine. It does take up quite a bit of time for us to do. It's going to leave us a lot more time for some other things during the winter to get done. So, I mean, it's all going to work out fine, but yeah, we don't get that that reimbursement back
Okay.
or that charge back. Since you bring that up though, I mean, we charge 4% and that's by some ordinance from 1996 or something, a long time ago. We charge 4% on all that maintenance engineering work we do for the township. And, you know, you can see that brings in a fair amount of money and it essentially pays to have the assistant there and then they're there for everything else. So, it works out pretty well. There was something else.
Is that, so
Oh,
that's our ordinance?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. And that's very,
So we
that's a
could-
typical number statewide, really, 4%.
Is it?
Fairly
Okay.
typical. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
I was just going to say, when was the last time that was, you said that goes back to 1996.
Yeah,
You know, is that something that we should revisit as far as,
I
you know,
think
as our
we're,
expenses go up?
we're right in there as if you want to call it an industry standard.
Okay.
It's right in there. Yep. One other thing I should point out, you kind of had a question about in the last one about, you know, some of the projections, how they would come out, you know, year to date. And as Reed explained, some of those are linear and some are non-linear, you know? And so in this case, I want to point out that on the equipment line item, furniture and equipment line item, we're going to be way over budget this year. And the reason for that is we had 2 trucks that we thought we were going to get to pay for last year, but we didn't because they just didn't get here in time. So we had to pay for them in 2025. All right. The money was still there, right? I mean, that didn't go anywhere. But that's going to push that equipment line item way over. And then what I do is I go line item by line item and I sort of try and guess where we're going to be at the end of the year. Somewhat part of the spreadsheet process, but I look at them and I know which ones are linear and which are non-linear. And then I guess at it. And it's possible then that we're $50,000 or so over on the aggregate for this budget, 2025, just so you know. I know we're talking 26 here today, but just so you know, and you know why.
And the 350 in the budget for equipment in 26
Yep.
is for, what do you?
Yep, so that's planned for a single axle dump truck, all set up for plowing and pickup truck. And then there's probably 20 grand-ish left over. I mean, there's always different things, smaller type pieces of equipment that need to be replaced or bought, you know, chainsaws and the like, that kind of thing.
And then I'm assuming like depreciation, I mean, there's a schedule and different things like that as you're looking to replace that equipment. Is that in
Yes.
line with that?
Yeah, we keep a whole equipment list of the age and the mileage and the hours and yes, yep. So we track that and then budget in when we can, where we can. We don't always get it when we need it or want it, but we kind of know what the next truck needs to be replaced, the next piece of equipment that needs to be replaced. We keep all the normal heavy equipment you might expect in a highway department, an excavator, a backhoe, rubber tire backhoe, end loader, you know, those sorts of things. Paint striper.
Any other questions in regards to county highway? Okay. Anything in special bridge you want to point out?
Jeremy, we had talked in our meeting a couple weeks ago about that township bridge. Did you plot numbers on that? Okay, it's a net neutral position. But what happened this year, we had a township bridge planned and that was baked into this budget. And how do I want to phrase this? The paperwork at IDOT didn't go through like it was supposed to, so we weren't able to do it. So we're gonna do it next year.
Okay.
So some of the money that we were gonna do this year is gonna have to get flipped into next year. And some of the reimbursement we were going to get back out of that, we're obviously not going to get because we didn't spend it. So it's a net neutral deal, but the numbers are going to have to change.
Gotcha. Okay.
So next year we'll have probably, hopefully 3 township bridges going and a county bridge as well.
All right. Anything else?
Other
there?
than that, no, this is, the county's, just for information. So the county special bridge fund, anything basically drainage related, that's what we're spending out of there. So any of the culverts that we buy, that all comes out of county special bridge. Obviously, any of the bridge projects we do, any rehab jobs we might do on a drainage structure, that's all.
Let me see if I.
That's all comes out of here. And a lot of times, these funds are paired with other state or federal funds in order to complete a job.
Dave, just to understand from an organizational chart standpoint, how do the township road commissioners, do they report to you, or how does that relationship work? So, I mean, you mentioned all the miles in township.
Yep.
And there's got to be a lot of collaboration, but how does that all work?
Well, you basically just hit on it. It's a lot of collaboration, but they do not report to the county. They're their own separate statutory entity. So with respect to county roads, the county board is the highway authority. That's why you'll see a lot of different resolutions for funding. I can't sign off on those. It has to come by resolution of the county board. Okay. So, and then with respect to roadways under township jurisdiction or road district jurisdiction, the highway commissioner himself or herself is the highway authority. So when we talk about all these projects, they come to us, and we'll start this process in September, October. They'll come to us. We've got all the numbers, okay, what they have individually. What we see in our account is the collective amount. We keep track of what they have in motor fuel, their motor fuel tax on an individual basis. And then we work with them to set up a program to spend that township motor fuel tax money individually per township. They make the decision as to what goes on what road. That's their
What the
job.
priorities are.
Yes, and then
And they all have their
we
own
set it
board.
up.
They have their own board.
They do have their own board, although relative to decisions made on the roadway, that is their decision only, not the board's.
The road commissioners.
Correct. The road commissioner's decision only. Yeah, it sometimes gets to be an interesting relationship.
I can attest to that. I live near 2 townships that intersect there, and literally one side is there's striping on one side, and the road looks this way, you drive over it. It's not that at all. It's completely different. So it is very unique in that way.
Yeah, and a lot
Literally,
of,
you're driving the
and if
same
you're on a
road.
township line, you may be driving along on a township line and it's a seal coated road and then all of a sudden it's gravel. Well,
Correct.
it's not always the case, but a lot of times it's just a change in jurisdiction along that township line. Yep.
Yeah, like is visible that way. So when you were talking about the change in things, I'm assuming that's why the change in the contractual services, because of that, the projects that may or
Right.
may not have.
Right.
Yeah.
The old joke is that the township road commissioner is the only legal dictator in the United States.
And it's elected position.
So when I was
Yes.
township supervisor, one of the
Correct.
first things I learned and was told very quickly, even though he was a buddy, Larry
Yeah.
Hummel, was that Jim, you work for me. And
You have
the
no authority.
hierarchy in township government is that the road commissioner, the supervisor is not over the road commissioner. The supervisor is the treasurer for the road commissioner. So I do what he says.
Popular misconception. That's correct.
Yes.
The real purview that the township board has over the road commissioner is they approve the budget.
The budget.
After the budget's approved, it is up to the highway commissioner to spend within the budget however they so choose.
Yes.
This is probably not for this discussion, but there's been a lot of talk about eliminating township government. If that were to happen, then all those roads would fall under the county,
Yeah,
right?
yes. It becomes a very large burden for the county.
Well, you can say, repeat the numbers again for the folks at home. You're taking care of a little over 200 miles of roads currently with your staff.
Yep.
And how many
Add-
miles of
add-
township road there
Add
is
nine-
there?
Add 900 to that overnight.
There you go.
And I mean, I think additionally with that proposed or recent proposed legislation, one, we would not be able to recoup the 100% that those townships were levying for. I think it's something like 25%. And second, all of the money levied in those townships would have to be maintained separately. So that would increase the number of funds, and we would have to know what funds were being spent out of what township. So the townships still exist, and the funds still need to be spent in those townships, but it just creates kind of, that's an accounting issue. Doing the actual road work's probably a lot harder, but.
But there were a few different bills out there that had a few different scenarios, and Reed just outlined one of the worst. Yeah.
Yep.
Nightmare. Yeah. I don't know that it was intentional. I just think whoever brought that bill just had zero understanding of how
How it all
money
works.
flows within that, and didn't address it.
Agreed. Okay, county motor fuel tax.
But we can talk about that some other time.
Yeah, I just was curious. I
it's-
didn't know if the
it's-
legislation.
It's an interesting
was-
subject.
If
Yeah.
it got passed, how that was going to impact us. That's all.
Dramatically.
Dramatically, yeah.
So,
it's
and
the word.
actually, not that we have a total plan on that, but you can imagine if that, even to a certain degree, even a phased-in area, we need, and we'll get to that in a discussion here coming up, but let's hit motor fuel tax and,
Yeah, so a lot of the motor fuel tax, you will see a resolution in November, December, where again, you will be appropriating this, via resolution. That's county matching. You're gonna see a resolution for a little over 1.4 million on that, and that is just the general maintenance stuff. There's a lot of materials that get purchased through motor fuel tax, cold patch, rock, the paint we used to put stripes on the road, the rock salt, okay, for the winter. And that'll be a fairly major increase this year versus last, if you're wondering, because we had a fairly light winter, 2024. I only needed to order 700 tons of salt for, for the 2024, 2025 winter, because we had such a stockpile. This year I'm going to have to order 2,400. So there's about $160,000 increase just in that alone, versus last year. So anyway, all of that gets wrapped into, this is the estimate of cost, this is what it looks like. Those numbers then will be put in a resolution form. This estimate of cost and goes to IDOT, gets approved by IDOT. You appropriate the funds via the resolution, then IDOT authorizes it. So again, to review, there are two things that have to happen before MFT money is spent. The highway authority, whoever that is, has to appropriate the funds, and then IDOT has to authorize the funds, and then they're legal to spend. Okay, two things have to happen.
so you're showing a 2% decline on revenues, on tax allotment. Why is that?
That was just simply based upon projections. Okay, so motor fuel tax that'll move around on you because that allotment is based on gallons purchased in the state of Illinois. Okay,
Right.
so whatever I took off it, whatever number I plugged in here, I just looked at how much revenue we were taking in this year and then just projected it forward. So there's probably just a slight decline, and it's probably mostly just usage.
Because didn't we had a increase in tax in
In
July?
2019, the capital bill went through, yes, and it went through, and yes, it did substantially increase, substantially.
So should.
But that's been factored in for a number of years now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The swing on that is just crazy.
Yeah.
The what?
The swing on the numbers,
Yeah.
is just from year to year. And that's, did they change formulas on that or?
1,840,000
Right.
in 22.
I mean, I would say if it was a
So,
COVID year or something.
so
it would
what,
make sense, but-
there was, okay, so as part of that capital bill, there was two components. There was the pay-go component, which was the increase you see at the pump. Then there was the bonded portion in which, forget all the numbers now. But any rate, there was $500 million bonded for local agencies. And we got an allotment for that, and that was 1.2 million, and that came over 3 years, 2 allotments per year. All right, so that was factored in. And that was actually a little different than motor fuel tax, but IDOT says that goes into your motor fuel tax fund and spent like MFT. Although I had different constraints I had to use when I spent that 1.2 million. It had to be a bondable project, which I did. That was a Rocky Ford job we did. So at any rate, there was a big bump, right, for a while, and that was the bonded portion. Well, that's over now. That's over now. And that's why you saw a big decrease after that was over.
Are there things like that you can apply for? Like, are there things like
That one's done and over.
Just, or
Yep.
but I mean, other things come up like that.
Oh, for example, there are other things that can be done. For example, we did a project on Chicago Road from DeKalb County line into the village of Paw, and we were able to use TARP funds, truck access route program funds, because we coordinated with DeKalb County and LaSalle County, and they did the same thing, because you got to have a logical termini, okay? And so we didn't have a logical termini unless DeKalb had a truck route. DeKalb didn't have one unless LaSalle had a truck route. And so it tied everything all in. So we all had logical termini, and we could use truck access route program money, which isn't a lot of money for the project. I think on that particular one was 145,000, but it's an example.
Yeah. Don't.
And those are out there. The vast majority of the time, what you're trying to do, you don't qualify for that stuff, but where you can, you put in for it. Yep.
All right, Reed, do you want to move on to capital request?
Oh, do we want to hit solid waste?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And this one here, it's really not a whole lot to it, honestly.
So the comment I would make here, it would be just so the new committee members know, we have by ordinance to maintain a $2 million balance in the solid waste fund. So what we've been doing is to help balance our budget is that we've been sweeping. I hate that word because that's what Illinois governors have been doing forever, but basically we're using the excess funds to put into our county general budget.
Yeah, I mean, so the way, if you are looking at our financial statements, that Whipley audits, the 2 million is basically called board designated funds, right? Because we have that resolution of the 2 million. It gets lumped into our county general funds as a whole, because the board could change that ordinance at any time, right? So it gets kind of grouped together, but yes, we do have that ordinance. So we make sure to keep that balance in that fund at the end of every year. Any excess we take to county general or capital.
And of course, the idea, as I understand it, behind having that $2 million in ordinance was to have a reserve in case there was ever a problem out at the landfill.
Decommissioning probably too.
How many years do we have left on the landfill?
Hard telling, but 15, 20, yeah, it's a fair amount.
20 years?
Best guess, it'll depend on if Republic Services decides to really start hitting that landfill with a lot of garbage from other places, then we have less. But we get revenue quicker at that point, but yeah.
So. Any other questions in regards to solid waste?
So what we're funding out of here, just so you know, would be the recycle bins. It would be any of the electronics work we do. So we pay that out of that person that we get out of a temp agency, like I say, out of this fund in order to take care of the electronics collection and so forth. So there's also some funds built in there for, I always just put it in there. Rarely use it, would just be for legal services and such, just in case it were to come up.
Okay. All right, Reed, let's move on to,
Yeah, county matching left, FAS matching.
Oh, you want to talk about that? I mean, it was in there.
Oh, huh?
We might have just skipped over it.
maybe I skipped over.
This is specifically really project driven, this fund. So this fund can only be used to match state or federal money. So if I have motor fuel tax money in a project, if I have federal funds in a project, then this is any match money we want to put in or combine with, then we use that. So these are, again, project specific. So for example, I got say a 2026 project list and the breakdown of different funding we'll use for each project. So some projects will have county matching in it, some won't, but sort of have that all delineated out. And then those numbers are then plugged in for this budget.
Capital's up there now, Jim.
Okay. I think so for the new finance, members, you might have had, Reed, Jason, you would have heard this conversation. You know, we've talked about, creating a new highway department. And we have identified a piece of property, which we do have an option on. And you can see the cost of the property once we exercise that option. Little background. This is going back probably 5-6 years ago. Dave came to the board and basically said, look, we've got some major work that needs to be done, major work, concrete and buildings that are breaking up. And
it was associated with the ARPA fund expenditures when you requested from all departments, any needs that departments may have for whatever. And it was part of the ARPA fund request, where I put that together.
so when we got that request from Dave, we went down and really did a deep dive and looked at the buildings and that whole situation. I don't know if you've been down where the highway department is. I
Been
mean,
several years.
yeah,
since I've been.
but
Yeah,
it's,
you've been there.
it's a challenging location to say the least,
Yeah.
in my view. What the history there was, of how that all came to be is kind of irrelevant, but because we're there.
Where is this new site?
So it'll be a northwest corner of 52 and 30.
Oh, let's see it.
Behind the little motel there.
Yeah.
Yep, north of that, north of
Okay.
the little motel. Yep.
Right. So we've been planning this for a number of years on, the question was, do we rehab those facilities or do we go so different? It wasn't a hard decision to figure out the direction that we needed to go. And that was to go, and look at a new facility. One that was, a lot better, located in regards to being centered into the county and also, not having the challenges that the old site had, and
What's
the
going to happen to the
restrictions.
old site?
And especially looking forward, and if they figure out a transition period of eliminating township government, and we do the county ends up taking over in some respects, however that may play out, having a facility that can expand and have the ability to
So is that 9 acres? Is that quantity 9? Does that mean 9 acres?
Correct.
That's
Correct.
$25,000 an acre.
Correct.
and we had originally had looked at other properties trying to figure out, and we had set aside a different number,
Who's the landowner
so.
that's being purchased from?
Irish Eyes,
Who's that?
It's an LLC.
LLC. It it was, it was a cold call. And they were like, sure, can I help you out, parcel that off? And I'm like, really?
I mean, they called you?
No.
No, I called them cold. It was cold.
Okay.
It was crazy how it worked out, but yeah.
There was several pieces of property looked at.
Oh, and I looked at, and really, Jason, where we're looking is that 30 corridor, somewhere up and down that 30 corridor, is central in the county. I mean, Amboy is pretty central. So we didn't really want to lose that centrality to where we could sort of get everywhere, you know, equal distant.
Good.
And we were kind of hammering up and down that 30 corridor and this popped up. So
I'll bet.
Logistically, it's a great location.
I'm just not quite sure how it'd be a whole lot better. There's a couple little strikes against it, no natural gas and stuff, but they're kind of minor in comparison to anything else. Yeah.
There's a contract? Is there a contract?
Oh.
Purchase contract?
Yes.
And when is that? Do you have an expiration on the contract or? Okay. Ah,
The whole project is only $500,000?
Mm-mm, no.
What's the? I was gonna say, what's the date of the estimate?
Call it 7. And your guess is as good as mine on that, but you know, if you want to think about a number and hopefully be high enough, just call it that for now, I suppose.
We're working with the Hood's office right now on some appropriation funds. So we're asking, my apologies, for around $5 million in that process. The total project is about 7.2, I do believe. So you're right, Dave.
So yeah, so we're looking for federal funds to help pay for it. We're also, we have a contingency plan. Basically, we'll have to borrow the money, is the contingency plan. And
So you're talking to the Hood?
yes, yeah.
So I've already done an environmental survey request on it, got the biological and cultural cleared, working with IDOT on entrance permits and so forth. We've come to an agreement. I don't have the permit in hand yet, but come to an agreement, submitted in for the permit. So there's been some preliminary work done to get the site vetted and ready to build.
So, and we're looking at least in part, funding this through motor fuel tax dollars that David has set aside. So it'd be really, really nice if we're able to get that. Whether that's is it a grant or an earmark?
Yeah, so it's
project?
through their community project funding. So we were one of the projects that he put forth last year as well. Obviously, which with the budget issues, really none of those that he put through were sent forth. There's a couple or smaller amounts of funding. His team and the congressman submitted the projects that he still felt were viable for FY26's community project funding. We are one of them. So we feel pretty good about that. Hoping that we'll get some appropriation for that.
Not knowing any timelines, maybe back to your question, you're like, well, that's not enough money. 275 was just a number I plugged in there to maybe do some site work, if it came about next year. So it was in there.
Right.
And we'd previously budgeted funding for that. It was in capital and just not had to spend it yet, so.
Right, we've been carrying it over because,
Yeah.
anyway. I don't have any questions. Or anybody have any questions in regards to that project? So, all right. Any other questions overall for David before we let him go? All right, hearing none.
Okay.
Dave, thanks. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming in. Thanks for what you
Yep.
do for us, and
Yeah,
Talk to you
if
soon.
anything else comes up, let me know.
we'll
I
do-
got more numbers like behind the numbers, so if you ever want to see them, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to take a 5-minute break? Right. Okay, all right. So before we get into sheriffs, let's take a 5-minute break. We took a 10-minute break rather than a 5-minute break, but that's okay. Derek has assured us that he is here at our pleasure and so anyway, we will get started with the Sheriff's Department. Derek, I've been been saying this with everybody. We've got new finance committee members and board members. Why don't you just give us a quick overview of the department and what you guys,
Okay.
how you're structured and what all is involved and
Yep.
and all that.
So my name is Derek Rankin, Chief Deputy out of the Lee County Sheriff's Office. I've been with the department for just over 20 years. Worked on patrol for 17 and a half before I came into the office. So right now we have just on the patrol side, 23 deputies, and then through corrections, we have another 16, and then through telecommunication, we have 10. So I kind of oversee all three divisions, which can be quite a bit. But today, I think we're here just to discuss the overall budget, and then I have a PowerPoint on the patrol side that I'd like to present.
Okay. All right, very good. Before we dive into the numbers, is there any questions anybody has for Derek? Okay.
No, it's just, I was just gonna
Yep.
say,
Nope, go ahead.
thank you very much for putting the PowerPoint together. That was clean and easy to go through, so thank you.
Is that what we want to hit first, Derek?
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do the PowerPoint and then we'll come back and
It's probably gonna take the longest, so that's fine.
Yep.
So again, this kind of hits on what I explained earlier. This is just kind of the patrol side of the department. Staffed with 23 deputies. One position is myself. We have one patrol lieutenant, 4 sergeants, 3 are in patrol, 1's assigned to investigations, 2 corporals, and then the other 15 deputies are broken up through investigations, civil process, college resource officer, chief bailiff up at the courthouse, and then the other 10 are assigned to 12-hour patrol duties. And that's just kind of a flow chart to make it make more sense for anybody that kind of sees it and see who's in charge of what. Obviously, there's a big bottleneck when it comes to getting to the lieutenant. So our current staffing model, we have a float sergeant on days and a corporal and a deputy on each side of the shift. If you actually want to scroll to the next slide, so it makes more sense as I explain it. So as you see up there on the top is the day shift. So you see the sergeant on the very top, and then you have 2 deputies assigned to each day. One a corporal, one's a deputy. The sergeant will make his schedule a couple weeks out before the month comes in, and they're gonna fill any open shifts that may come up to assist with any coverage, so we're not paying out overtime. Or maybe to have a 3rd person on if an event's going on or something where we know we need coverage. The boxes below is the night shift. We have 4 per shift on our nights. Our minimum is 3. That has a sergeant and 3 deputies per shift. So that's been a plus. We just got one back from military deployment and another one just came off injury. So we're kind of back to our, what I call normal staffing. I went back and kind of looked at these things. The float sergeant this year alone has saved 14 shifts of overtime. And last year, that position saved 20 shifts. So when I say shifts, I mean a 12-hour 5A to 5P shift. So just that alone has saved some overtime cost on the back end. The next couple slides are more just information for you guys to kind of show how much movement kind of happens within our department year in, year out. And again, this is just patrol. So went back the last 4 years. Obviously in 2022, we've had retirement, a couple resignations. We did fill those positions. We had 1 deputy gone on military deployment. 2 were off on light duty or injury. And then we had another one released from their training that actually helps out with the shift coverage. FY 2023, same thing, employee returned from deployment. We had another one released from their field training. Both deputies returned from light duty, and then the very last one was released from their field training in July. So at that point, we were up to staff, people are back, things look good. We did have some transfers from corrections out to patrol. Doesn't always happen, but we like to look at current employees if we can fill those positions. One employee, deputy out on medical leave for a couple months, and then we had another retirement at the end of November in 2023. Fiscal year 2024, another deputy that was on field training was released in March. We got the new hire that was from the Franklin Grove Ashton contract that we signed. So that allowed for another body. And then we had another deputy transferred from corrections out to patrol to fill the vacancy. Actually, that was the new hire. He started in May. That was when the academy started.
Derek, I got a question in
Yep.
regards to new hires. It's been real challenging, my understanding, you just have not had the applicants that we may have had in the past. Has that changed?
No.
Are we getting more applicants per position or?
So we get a lot through telecommunications. Last time we did applications, we were almost up to 40. And we have apps out right now to fill that list, and we're again near that 40 mark. But anything with patrol or corrections, we might get 10. So it is down quite a bit. It could be the environment. Certain people just don't want to do this job anymore. I think our new contract that we got a year and a half ago, that helped. I mean, things have gone up. We've had more interest from laterals. Other employees that work for other departments and other agencies that have kind of sparked their interest for what we now have. But the younger generation, it's hard to get them to get the buy-in. I think a lot of them see, they can't retire till they're 55. So at 21, I had to work 35 years. It's hard.
Tell them to try farming.
I get it, but from what we've been told, it's a lot of the younger generation doesn't look that far out.
Right.
They don't want to commit to anything that long. So, but I would say it's getting a little better, but it is still challenging. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate that.
Yep. Continuing here just real quick, this is almost done. It was kind of the boring part, but so then we also had 2 more employees out of military deployment again. One for 4 months through the summer months, which is our high volume time. And then another one from September 2024, and that employee just got back last week. So they were gone for a year. Yeah. And then again, separation and another retirement, and a couple of resignations. And then this year.
Were
again-
those resignations, those were moves, those were laterals out, going
Yes.
to other departments?
No, the last 2 were not to other departments. They just resigned and chased a
Oh.
different path.
Okay.
Yep. So these are replacements for a couple of them for the December and February hire. And then last year, we had a couple deputies that were in training. Those were released. We've had a couple employees on light duty. We had one away for 6 weeks for canine training. We had a resignation in July. And then we have another one coming up here towards the end of the month.
You have one canine dog?
We have 2.
You have 2 out.
Yes, so 1 per shift on
Does the
that.
city of Dixon have canines?
They have 1.
Have you ever lost your dog?
No.
I asked them if they'd ever lost you. They're one of the canines.
In Dixon PD's defense, I will say those dogs are not normal dogs. They can get out very easily.
I have just a quick question. The resignation coming up this month, is that lateral or is that just, they're just going in another path?
That's a lateral to another agency.
Okay. And the July one was the same?
No, that employee just chase a different path.
Okay.
Yep, nope.
Just curious because of the FOP contract and stuff
Yep.
we were kind of watching.
Yep.
Well, it just goes back to what you mentioned in the contract, that we're very much aware
Mhm.
of the difference between contracts between us and city and what other
Yes.
counties are doing. And,
Yep.
it goes back to that need. We need to stay competitive.
Yep.
But
Yep. The one resignation coming up, again, it's not a secret, they are transferring to Dixon again. So, but
I mean, every time we have to go to the pool and hire a new deputy, I mean, what's the time between them being hired and when they can actually then go do a shift on their own?
So, the biggest variance would be when we can get them into the academy. Normally, obviously, those academies are every 4 months. So we have one starting next month that we have an employee going to. So using that employee, they'll start that academy beginning of September. They'll be released from the academy into December. And then they're gonna have at least 3 months of field training, if not longer, depending how they respond to it. So it could be 7 to 8 months before we're gonna see any benefit from that employee to cover any open shifts.
Right.
So it does take quite a while, but there is a lot to this. With all the mandates that have to be covered, obviously just handling the calls, not just the only thing. You gotta type all the report, you have to track all the paperwork, you have to put in any evidence. It's all gotta be sent to your supervisor for approval, then you might have to come back and actually touch on it again. So things just are very lengthy.
Can you explain the contractual obligation of the employee for their training if they were to leave? What is the context around that?
So we do have a 4-year contract with employees, and for every year, that percentage that they would be obligated to pay back goes down. And then things that are factored into that, clothing, medical, startup costs, psych tests, FTO costs for the field training officer that we have to pay back, stuff like that. So the academy has been paid back by the state for the last several years. So normally those costs come back to us through the state of Illinois
What's the starting wage?
for a deputy. Right now, yeah, there's many of them, I can tell you. It was 60 at the beginning of the contract, but now it's changed based on we hit the December 1st, and then it'll go back up again in December 1 here coming up.
should be around 62, 60,
Yeah.
62.5, something like that.
So right now, starting
This next year.
wage, my mouse would cooperate. 62,400 right now for starting. And that's if they have no experience. If we have somebody that, let's say, has 5 years on another department, we may, depending on what we can show and prove, may bring them in at that 5-year step based on they have that experience. Starting December 1st of 2025, it goes up to 64,896.
Get this contractual law. What would that be? Kind of year later.
So
Yes, I'm just wondering if
Mhm.
that's a deterrent from getting people to come in.
agencies all over use them. It's nothing new. It's, again, you're putting the investment into this employee when you hire them with all this costs and all this training that, again, takes months.
Yeah.
You want to see something back in return for that. So it could be 3-year contracts, 4-year contracts, but I know Ogle County uses them, Whiteside County uses them. It's nothing new. A lot of the city PDs use them, so. But I think it goes, in the first year, it's the full amount, and then I think it goes 80, 60, 40, if I remember correctly. So right now, at the end of this year, coming up in August, we'll be down 1 deputy, even with the deputy starting the academy in September. So right now, we're down staffing by 1. So this kind of breaks down a little bit more of, we have 23 deputies. Excuse me. 8 of them are 8-hour employees. So 8-hour employees in the office, they more or less work Monday through Fridays. They do not generate any overtime when they take time off. Their spots are not replaced. It's just, they're allowed the day off and come back to work on their next shift. The 15, 12-hour deputies are what generates our overtime cost for overtime. Now, 8-hour deputies can still generate overtime if they're held over or called out, certain things like that. But their accumulation of the overtime is a lot less than a 12-hour employee.
So Derek, what creates that differentiation? Is that in the contract? I don't remember that.
No,
That's a
they're paid
management decision.
yeah, it's, the 8-hour employees work 2,080 hours a year. 12-hour employees work 2,184. But we have to keep up our minimum staffing. So our minimum staffing is 2 on days, 3 on nights. And that's for, coverage of the county and officer safety. So, obviously we have a lot of square miles, even 2 just on daytime. That's 2 guys kind of running their tail off just to get the call sometimes. So, because I will say, we cover police responsibilities for obviously Paw Paw, Franklin Grove, Ashton, and the rest of the county. Amboy is the only other town besides Dixon with a police department, but they don't even have 24-hour coverage.
Right.
So we are covering a lot of area. State police, when they redid their districts and called them troops, Rockford combined with the district down here. So unfortunately, a lot of times all those troopers are up in Rockford now.
Yeah.
So we might have one around, but there's usually one between like Ogle, Lee, and Whiteside County. So, yeah.
It looks by your charts, that I know you're gonna go over, but those overtime charts look like we have finally gained by adding staff what we've tried to do for 6 or 7 years.
Correct.
So it's working.
It is, yes, yeah.
Derek, I have one question on the
Yep.
overtime. I think Clay has explained this, but just to refresh my memory, when there's overtime required, what's the process in choosing who gets the overtime, or how do you, obviously some are higher paid workers than others. So
Yeah. So if anything does come up, it goes to a posting through that scheduling program we have. It goes based on seniority.
Okay.
So the highest seniority person can bid it first. If they don't want it, they pass on it and it goes down to the next person. So
Okay.
how we do it, we would make a claim in that system. They all see it. They can all submit for a request for the claim, and we approve it 5 days out to whoever has the most seniority.
Last question on that, is that per Lee County or is that per FOP contract?
That's the FOP contract.
Thank you.
Yep. And again, down here, it just kind of went over new hire to complete the police academy. Obviously, 16 weeks field training typically is unavailable to cover shifts independently or provide scheduling relief for at least 7 months. I didn't hit on, so the one thing I didn't hit on, the overtime accumulated with the 15-hour, 12-hour, or 15, 12-hour deputies. They have an accumulated vacation time and hours of 2,088 hours a year. So that is a whole nother person just to cover the vacation if we're at minimum staffing. The next slide is kind of getting into, these are new state mandates that the states making us conform to, which again, it's not really new. They've added a couple. We've always had training mandates that we've hit. So the mandates aren't fully new. It's just how much in the time wise of what we have to complete. So green is good. Yellow means something's coming up that we need to get a class done for. If anything hits in the red, that deputy has 30 days to fix it, or we have to pull them in the office and they are not allowed to go out until it's completed.
Now, these are online classes or this is in classroom? Classroom.
Half and half. So there are some that require classroom. Some of these can be done on the deputy's normal time while they're working through a website for Illinois Training and Standards Board. But the big ones are all in-person class stuff that they have to attend. So we try to hold a lot of these in-house, and we'll just do it 1 per shift. So we're holding 2 trainings, the year for the entire department. We have people that are certified to do that. It lets us know that we're holding the training, we're getting it done, we can see the employees there. They build the camaraderie, stuff like that, compared to if I have to send them to Freeport or Rockford. Sometimes we hold stuff in Dixon, but those classes you can't get as many people into because they may have a maximum of 20 seats. Well, it's not gonna help if I shove 10 guys in there and take half the class.
Sure.
So a lot of those we only use for like a makeup. If we need somebody to go to, if they're not available, using the deputy that's on military deployment, he can't take those while he's on deployment. So he's had to make up quite a bit on his own. So we had to put him in some classes when he got back.
Mhm.
Are these classes offered at Sauk Valley College with the new training that's done there? It's not, maybe it's
No.
not so new anymore.
No, so that is just the academy alone. We cannot utilize that for our maintaining of classes.
Hmm.
So the maintaining of classes is completed through the mobile training unit, which is a part of Illinois Training and Standards Board. So there's a website for that and the guys can see, or I should say employees, they can see all the classes and when they are. So if employees know when I'm coming up on something, I can submit for a class and we'll try to get you in. So, but some of them can be done online. So these are the big training topics that require the most time. So firearms training, we hold 3 4-hour sessions a year that employees can make. There's 12 hours there. You have control tactics. We hold 2 4-hour sessions. Less lethal and taser is a full day. High-risk traffic stops is 4 hours a year. Medical first aid is a full day, 8 hours. Scenario-based training, for that, it can be, we have a simulator that we can have access to through the mobile training unit. We can bring that in and run guys through simulator training. SOC also has one that we are able to use from time to time if it's available. Or we can set up, trainings in a building that can relate to our needs. We'll submit the training plan and the state has to sign off on it. Crisis intervention is a big one. That is a full day every year. And then the next slide. This is our specialties. A joint operations group, that is more or less our tactical response team or SWAT team that we have with Dixon PD. We train 4 hours every 2 weeks on scenario-based stuff, so 96 hours a year. Designated marksmen are more or less our snipers. Same concept, 96 hours a year. Our K9 unit, they train together and with a group 3 hours weekly on top of anything they might do during the shift they have. And then drone operators, they do 48 hours extra per year, not including any time they may fly the drone during work hours. So obviously that's a lot, but this is what is entailed with maintaining, the guy's proficiency and keeping up on new trends, new case law, stuff like that. So
What happens to the guys that are on military? How do they get this training in?
So just using the last guy who was on training, he was trying to do some of the monthly case law online stuff while he was up there.
Okay.
But they have restrictions with the VPN. He was not able to get in. So when he came back, he was in the office for a couple of days and he had to just do them one at a time.
Okay.
So,
So it gets caught up.
yep. So with all that training that I just listed, if we're at minimum staffing, if I take the overtime rate of all those deputies that are 12-hour employees that I have to bring in, that is the cost as of December 1st of this year, just in overtime.
Is there any crossover with other county sheriff's departments to kind of collaborate together and maybe save costs and training?
For training, so that's what the mobile training unit will do when they hold classes. It's all different agencies that come together and hold the training. But again, you still have the cost, you still have to pay the employee no matter how you do it. So this is just to make them attend the class.
I was just doing some simple math and I'm could be way off, but it looks like with the amount of training you have, you about have to have 4 employees to cover everybody's training. Say if on 20 employees or something like that, it looks like you'd have to have just about 4 more employees just to cover that time.
Well, and as we get down, I can show you with two more, if we can get to 4 a shift, how we can cut some costs. But it is a lot, like, you know, and a lot of these, we don't have an option. We have to facilitate the training no matter, you know, how things look. So, so this number doesn't account for any mid-year raises. Not every employee is going to get a raise through that year. They could already be at the highest step possible, but more than half of them are going to see a raise. And again, this is just patrol side. This has nothing to do with corrections. Again, 8-hour employees, they hold these trainings while they're normally working. So they're doing it on their normal time. They're not paying overtime. Can we go back to that calendar? It was slide 11. So using this as a reference on that day shift, you're seeing 2 per shift, right? So we're obviously down 1. So if we fill the open vacancy and get 2 more, that would put us at 4 deputies per shift all the way around. So with our minimum staffing of 2 on days, 3 on nights, if we hold a training, let's say on a Wednesday morning, I could take 2 of the 4 deputies that are on shift that day and put them through training on normal time. We can take 1 either from the night before and give them the night off and then come in for training that day or the night shift. We're keeping our minimums, but now I'm able to take 3 from each shift and put it through training just through normal hours. Along with getting the 8-hour employees off on normal time, that cuts our cost down to $45,747. So it's a savings of $57,450. So again, I know 2 deputies are expensive, but you're seeing cost savings in overtime line, which is where we've struggled with for years, trying to kind of find that happy medium of how do we facilitate everything and requirements that we have to have and still provide that we're not overworking employees. So that kind of explains it a little bit as to what I just said. I just wanted to kind of.
So before we move on
Yep.
from that, Derek, so put this in clear language
Mhm.
for us, because I'm going to I'd have to study
Yep.
this, because
No, I get it.
I haven't looked, and I really appreciate this
Mhm.
PowerPoint, because this is information that we've asked for years
Yep.
and got it in one form or the other, but
Mhm.
this is really easy to understand. So from where our staffing levels is, what does, if we had, what gets us to a 4 deputy per shift?
Hiring 2 more. So like I said, we have 1 open right now. So if that open gets filled, once training happens, you already got 3 on each day shift, 4 on each night shift. With 2 more, that would get us to the 4 per shift all the way around.
So what you're saying is 2 additional,
Yes.
not 3. 3,
Yeah.
we've already accounted budget-wise for that 3rd one that you need to hire.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep,
Thank
they're
you.
already in the budget.
Okay,
Yep.
very good, thank you.
So, but again, the other spin side to that would be too with 4 on a shift. If somebody takes vacation time, we don't have to hire back for it because we're above our minimums. So a lot of that vacation time off could be absorbed too, where you're not paying overtime. So,
So the projection of the 45,000, if you had the 4 deputies, I was trying to read the explanation real quick, but I'm trying to understand, because if it really does minimize that overtime, it's just an estimate, or where are you getting the number?
so I have an Excel sheet with everybody's pay rates, and I just did equations to figure out how many training hours and let it work itself out and totaled everything together. So
Just not enough time in the year is what you're saying, so you would still have to have that overtime for the training.
if we're at minimum staffings, we'd have to,
At minimum.
yes, yep.
With the 4 deputies per shift.
Yeah, with 4 deputies per shift, that gives us 2 extra on day shift and 1 extra on night shift that you're able to mitigate and put them through class instead of working a shift. So. I know it can be confusing, so If anybody kind of wants more clarification, I can lay it
Well,
out.
the clear answer is that you're asking for two more guys.
Correct.
And, so you know, from our perspective, I mean, that's easy math for us to understand.
Correct. Yep.
You know,
Nope, I understand.
because we know what the cost per deputy is,
Mhm.
so.
So if we go to the next one. So one thing I will say is a lot of what we need, we already have. So using squad cars, that's always another big purchase. Last year, we didn't trade all the cars in based on we wanted utilities, so we have the extra cars already. So we wouldn't have to buy new squads if we did hire two more people. We already have the equipment to let them utilize in that aspect. Mileage will be kept on cars. Obviously, if you have four guys covering the county on days compared to two, they don't have to drive as much. So fuel costs per deputy could be down a little bit instead of, you know, two guys racking up 300 to 400 miles a day. It could be knocked down to 150, depending on the call volume.
Do you happen off the top of your head to know the cost of the training of these new deputies? If not, I understand it.
The academy, again, like I said, is normally, that's reimbursed by the state. So our medical, psychological testing like that, that is about $1,300 a deputy. No, excuse me, I misspoke, 1,800 because the medical stuff has gone up. So about 1,800 for that, and clothing, uniforms, probably about 4,000. Bulletproof vest is 1,500. And like I said, the other equipment for utilizing on shift, we already have.
Okay.
So, I mean, we already have the extra firearms.
That was I sit on claims, so
Yeah.
I see
yep.
those. That
There's
was
a-
gonna be my question.
Yeah,
Thank
there's a
you.
lot to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can look at getting a better number if you'd like one. That's not a problem.
No, that's fine. I just kind of wondered what went into that. Thank
Yep.
you.
So Derek, make sure I understand. So if we add a deputy, we're looking at the salary and this other $7,500. But you have cars, weapons, and radios
Correct.
and computers.
Yep. Mhm. So this is the patrol section alone, just to show you the overtime costs of what we've been looking at. So in 2022 was just under 211,000. 2023 was 288,359. 2024, 222,347. And then this year, right now, we're at 132,635. If current trends continue, we'll be at like 202,854 if it projects out as it's been running per payroll right now. So to break down a category, just so you can understand where the money's going. Obviously, what you were referring to earlier, our shift coverage is still up there, but it's gone down. Green is the classes and training. That's a big part of what we're at with a lot of other stuff every year. General can be holdovers, paperwork, anything that comes up. So that stuff we normally can't control. Details, you know, sitting at hospitals with inmates, anything that comes up where they're not releasable or we have to maintain somebody, that's what those areas cover. And then others just could be adjustments. You know, they might have forgot to submit the payroll or the time in on a certain payroll and it was already paid out, so we had to put in another date. Next slide is the amount of hours. So shift coverage, as you can see, in 2023, we worked 2,242 hours of overtime just covering shifts. So right now that's down to 1,357. And obviously we're getting out of our busy time when people like to take vacations. So things usually slow down in the fall months. So I think we are ahead of where we've been in the past. Any questions on any of that? Again, how do we fix the issue? We've kind of talked about it already. Obviously with corrections, we were allowed to add a couple within corrections a couple years ago, and that allowed us to get to a certain level of staffing, which really has helped us absorb overtime there.
Maybe you covered this earlier, but in terms of number of calls that you're responding to,
That's coming out.
that's coming up.
Yep. So this is where I was hit on with corrections. So again, we've proven this has worked with corrections. Right now they have their 16 deputies. One is a jail superintendent, one working in the mezzanine, and they have 14 deputies to cover the shift coverage.
That's 24/7, 365.
Correct. So with adding the 2 to give us 14, we now have 3 per shift and 2 floats. So the float deputies, again, just like the flex sergeant, are allowed to submit their schedule a couple weeks before the month coming up. And one big thing that we've hit on with corrections lately is the amount of transportation to go pick up inmates that we've hit. We've kind of lost our part-time transport team due to, wanting to fully retire, move on, not available, stuff like that. So the new laws within the state, if somebody's picked up on a detainable warrant, we have 5 days to go pick them up. So it's kind of short notice. Sometimes you don't get told right away. We might get told by another agency, pick somebody up last night and you have 5 days.
How far an area does that cover?
It depends how far the warrant hold is. We've had to go out to Utah before to pay. We could have to go everywhere.
When you said, when someone's picked up, you have 5 days to pick them up, and I'm missing something, like.
So if we have a warrant out for somebody, and let's say, we'll use Cook County as an example, because there's a lot goes on up there. They'll notify us that so-and-so was picked up on our warrant. It has to be a detainable warrant. If not, there'll be bond associated with it. If they can't post bond, then we have to pick them up. So we'll be notified that we have to pick that person up within that 5-day window. Yep.
Okay, so somebody else picked them up. You got 5 days to go get them.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep. So that's been a big struggle to meet those needs. So the 2 flex float deputies will kind of forecast, okay, if we know we got to go to Winnebago and get one, but we know another one's in Ogle, we'll try to do it in the same run. So that way it's not 2 sets of a trip. With the new van that we have, we can house male and female. We can house multiple people. So you try to do as much as possible at one time, so it's not as much of a encumbersome thing. But again, with those floats, they also help cover any vacation time off. Thursday's a big day for us with felony call through the courthouse. So you have a lot of movement, stuff like that. So we try to schedule around that to assist with the shifts working and to cover anything, which has actually been very helpful.
So how's the Safety Act affected all of what you're doing?
It's made it harder.
But you're not holding as many prisoners.
No, we're not gonna be holding them, but I will say we arrest somebody, they're released based on they're not detained, but people still aren't going to court. So there's warrants issued all the time. We have more warrants being issued now than we did before.
Oh, yeah. So because people don't show up, then you got to go find them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Causes more cost.
Can't imagine why people wouldn't show up.
If
If they don't show up, you first send them a reminder if they didn't show up. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, I was told by somebody that they're notified, they didn't show up for court and they had a chance to. Okay.
Nope. So just like it was before, if you're released, you're considered non-detainable by the courts based on the charge you were just arrested for. When you're released from the jail, you get a court date. If you don't show up for court that date, they issue a warrant for your arrest.
But there's no bail now, so they don't forfeit anything.
At the beginning, yes. But once the warrant's issued, there's bail associated with it.
Oh, there is.
Yep.
Then they have bail.
Or they'll be marked detainable and then we're holding them.
The Safety Act sounds like it was a good idea to save time and money, and maybe it didn't end up being that way, huh?
Yeah.
We could,
I mean, what probation does, I mean, they may, if they know of somebody that they may call them, like, hey, you're supposed to be in court. I don't know what they do. I can't speak for that. There may be some notification by,
Tom,
but
I thought the sheriff was one who told me that himself.
yeah, no,
It
it's,
was a reminder to let them know they hadn't
yeah,
shown up.
if they don't make court, then there'll be a
Okay.
warrant issued.
Interest of time, we better keep
Yep.
moving through the PowerPoint so we have some time to go through the numbers.
Yep. So again, this is just a calendar that shows kind of the bigger picture of more coverage, kind of show you how that kind of lays out. Again, the breakdown, since you guys have this, we'll kind of run through it a little bit. This is just hours to show kind of how things have dropped dramatically within corrections with those extra bodies. It's just a forecast of what is still to come with corrections based on they still have a little bit of training they have to continue with this year. One thing to note, corrections is not mandated by the state like patrol is. The police officer side is what has all the mandates. We still have to provide training to corrections to meet jail requirements, but it's not as encumbersome. It's just more overview. So here's your calls for service that you were kind of getting at. So back in 2020, we had 7,800 calls. So that's 21 and some change per day. Little breakdown of the high end calls that people were familiar with. 2021, we had 8,944. 2022, we had 8,089. 2023, we had 9,616. 2024, we had 9,515. And this year to date, at the end of July, we had 6,758. So again, forecasting out will be just over 10,000 this year. Calls for service.
So from our perspective, because basically what, hate to say it crassly, what's our bang for the buck
Mhm.
of what we're getting? And this really goes to the heart of it,
Yes.
of,
Well,
you know,
I mean, again, when people call us, it's, something's wrong.
right?
We're providing a service for citizens of the county. If I have a family member that's sick, I don't want to wait 20 minutes for somebody to come help. I mean, a lot of our county side fire departments are all volunteer. So it takes a lengthy amount of time for anybody from a fire department to get anywhere. So we beat everybody to calls. So the county sheriff's office is the first one somebody's going to see when something's wrong.
Sure.
So
And there's 2 cars on duty per shift
during the daytime, yes.
for the daytime. At nighttime?
Nighttime, there's 3. So a couple things to consider. Most calls take more than one deputy to handle. If we're going to domestic, you can't send one person. You're dealing with a household already, so you're already outnumbered. We have to send at least 2, if not 3 people. So normally we'll start asking for assistance from state police, or if it's close to Dixon, we'll have Dixon come out, stuff like that. But normally there's only 2 or 3 of us at a call with outside agencies. Most calls involving domestics, batteries, thefts, vehicle crashes, mental health crises is another big one lately. It takes several hours. These mental health things, like you're trying to de-escalate the situation, well, not as the person have to go to the hospital. And we're staying at the hospital until they're medically cleared or until they get placed. I mean, I can tell you, I've stayed at a hospital 8 hours one night because the process it's not fast.
just listening, I know you, I don't know how much time you have, but this is really good stuff. Like, thank you so much for putting this together or having someone put it together. This is phenomenal. You know, in support of these, you know, I think what you're asking for is 2 positions. I think we should make everybody put together a PowerPoint like this to support any kind of position we're trying to do. We've hired people on less documentation than this, so. But I really like this. Thank you.
Coverage area, deputies are handling more than one call at a time a lot of times, you know. I could be handling a civil call on the phone as I'm driving to a theft call. Like, they're multitasking all day long. Response times obviously suffer due to the distance at times. The next slide, another graph that just kind of breaks down the minutes to respond to calls. So, you know, an accident, using those. I mean, right now we're at 40 minutes this year for a property damage accident. I mean, that's just trying to get to the location. And I'll tell you, it never fails. I can be in Sublette and drive through, and then I'm gonna drive all the way up to Stewart, and then I get a call in Sublette. I mean,
Is there still an auxiliary?
it just happens.
Yeah.
No,
There's not an auxiliary.
no, we don't have any. So, you know, medical's another one, like I explained. Not everybody knows how to deal with something, a medical call. So if you're standing there for 15 minutes, twiddling your thumbs, that's seems like forever.
Right.
So it's a tough spot to be in. Again, more towns are reaching out for additional coverage and special events. So I know with Paw Paw, Franklin Grove, and Ashton, we contract with them. We feel it's kind of our responsibility to be there. But Sublette reaches out. Amboy we help with Petunia Fest and Dixon. It's just, people want to feel safe when they're out doing things and not feel like something's going on. So it's to see a uniform somewhere, whether you need help or just, you know, the safety blanket of knowing somebody's around it, makes people feel better.
What are paper services?
So that's our civil process side. So subpoenas, anything for
Oh,
court that we have to serve
okay.
civilly that isn't for a legal reason. Yep.
Okay.
They have gone up significantly in the last couple of years, and we have one full-time deputy that's all he does, along with the office itself.
Here comes the herd.
So I mean, we have stacks. So continued addition of shift limits, deputies have the ability to take necessary time off, decompress and recover with high stress demands of this profession. Regular time off is essential for both physical and mental recovery, especially in correctional setting where they meet environment and inherit stressful. Research has shown that employees are not afforded adequate opportunities to rest and decompress. Overall decision-making quality declines at the risk of burnout, which we've seen. We've had several employees leave due to burnout.
When you're screening new applicants, do they go through a personality profile to see if they're made up for this kind of work?
Yes, it's part of the psych test. Yep. Yep. And I'll tell you, we've had great, I want to use the word scores, you know, reviews from the doctor on a certain employee. And then they get overworked and it changes a person. And the things that people see in this profession, it can change anybody. So again, just impacts the stress and decision-making. So that's it.
Okay.
So.
Well, I want to echo what Mike said, and I'm sure the rest of the committee, we've never ever had a PowerPoint. I mean, the 7 years I've been on the county board and going, never had a presentation like this, Derek. Very much appreciate it.
Not a problem.
You know, it's very helpful for us to put in perspective. Now, obviously, we're going to come to, if you want to get up the, you know, the
rest of the numbers.
The challenge that we have, of course, is how do we pay for this?
Yep.
You know, we have we know what our needs and wants are, but how do we get it paid for?
Mhm.
So, but let's look at where we're at in this upcoming year. So Reed, you want to just kind of run through the highlights of major changes?
Sure. I'll let Derek elaborate on him, but I mean, I think
Right.
the biggest change, right, is gonna be in that salary full-time line item. So what is in that line item is the ask for 2 additional deputies.
That is in.
That is
number.
in that number.
Okay.
I mean, some of the larger changes, right? We've got inmate medical, reduction in that due to kind of, it's more shifting a cost from one spot to the other. But we basically brought that in-house with having a nurse on staff part-time and a nurse practitioner, opposed to contracting that out. So that's more of a shift from that inmate medical line item to that part-time salary. I don't know, Derek, is there anything specific that you wanted to highlight on there?
Not that you've touched on so far, no.
Okay. I mean, fines and fees, they fluctuate a little bit where they're relatively consistent. I think the big line item there, the public safety reimbursement, that entails some of those new contracts that the sheriff has with some of those municipalities to provide services. As well as I think, you know, if you're looking at the run rate, it doesn't look like we're gonna get there, but there's a SAWC, they just pay us once annually, and that's coming up, their payment, so. Oh, we got it already, so yeah, but, you know, that's increased year over year.
Do the reimbursements we get for providing resource officers in schools and so forth, is it equal to what it costs?
Yeah, it's under contract, yes.
So it's a wash.
I guess any questions on the general?
How did inmate medical drop so much?
That was the switch from, we used to contract that out to a third party, and now we've brought that in-house by hiring a part-time nurse and a nurse practitioner. So that there's an increase in the part-time wages line item for those.
When it comes to the jail, how many cells do we have and what's the percentage of occupancy?
So right now, I think we can hold 660 some, but we're running around high 20s, low 30s a day.
Isn't that about average?
Yeah. Yeah, with the Safety Act, it went down drastically.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are seen as detainable, so we can't release them.
So back when Ogle County and Lee County were going to build new jails, there was a lot of conversation about using ICE, taking detainees for immigration. Is that something that's a possibility for new revenue?
I'm not sure what they're offering right now, what they're looking at. I don't know if Ogle even still does that. But Ogle was at one time holding for federal government, yeah, but I'm not sure. They've talked about building new things around, so I don't even know if they're offering those out right now. We'd have to look into it.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, there you go.
Jackie, we need you on a mic.
The law changed, so we can no longer house immigrants.
Yep.
Yep.
The state did say, so we can't assist in picking them up or doing anything, but yeah, I wasn't sure on the correction side.
And that's because we're a sanctuary state?
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's keep running. So any questions in regards to county general? And because we've got a number of special revenue funds we have to go through too. Any questions here? Okay, Reed, move on.
911's still county general. We just kind of separated out between the deputies and the corrections and patrol, and then this is the telecommunicators. Their overtime is a little bit higher this year, and I think that was all anticipated. You know, maybe not in time for last year's budget, but with retirements, I think they're down. Is it 2 or 3 individuals, Derek?
We have 2 in training right now.
Okay. But they can't work by themselves, right? So they're causing,
Correct.
Yeah.
We have 1 in the process of being hired, and we're planning for retirement in December. So with the employee we're looking to hire, that would, in the retirement, we're even at 10 employees.
Okay, any questions there? Okay, move on. Okay, nothing. Okay, keep moving on unless there's something there you want to point out, Derek.
UI equipment or Arresti Medical.
Yeah. Bulletproof vest is one we need to, so this Department of Justice used to reimburse for half of that. They stopped that in August of 24. So there's no more reimbursement on the bulletproof vest side.
So really, that's just county general funding that. So
Yep.
theoretically, maybe we just close out that fund,
Right.
and move it to a regular budget.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, they
So
could
we've been
reopen that in
doing
the
those
future.
as capital requests anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can plan for, obviously, because they're 5 years. So we know when they're coming up. We can tell
Right.
you, other than a new hire, we can tell you when those are gonna be due.
Okay. All right, any questions there? Okay, let's move on to capital. So we've talked about um, extending the rotation.
Mhm.
I know that's something that you would rather not do, but
The problem is, I mean, the cars that are scheduled to go out next year are already at 100,000. So we hit those marks and the maintenance costs usually skyrocket with transmissions, suspension, stuff like that. Again, we kept the cars last year as utilities, so phase those out, get the new ones. We still have the extras, but now the ones that would be out are 95, 105,000, if not a little bit more. They're not being driven all the time, so we're able to use them when we need them if something breaks down or if we hit a deer and it's in the shop, stuff like that.
Sure.
But
Jim?
we're gonna look at higher costs on maintenance side rather than staying ahead of it. Because a lot of this stuff's under warranty, the
right,
powertrain.
go ahead.
Jim, remind me, did we have 4 last year? Did we purchase 4?
I think we had 3.
3?
But Sauk.
I know they went through claims, I just don't remember
Some
how
bought
many.
the one.
Yes, we still got
Okay.
4, because Sauk bought one of them.
Sauk bought
then
one and we
3,
bought
so
3.
We still
Thank
got our
you.
4 other rotation, yes.
Anything else on that? Let's see. Okay. The portable radios on, for the LEC,
Yep.
Did we talk about those last year?
Yep.
Yeah,
We've been,
we bought like 11,
yeah.
is that right? Yeah.
I think there's
been
been
a
Close to
lot of them go through claims.
125,000.
Yeah, we got 15 last year. We're gonna have 15 again this year. So that's the new Wi-Fi LTE capable radios. It's solved our communication problem in the buildings and stuff. Between, so the courthouse and the jail got last year's quantity dealt out to them. And this year and next would be to go out to actually patrol so that they have better radio reception.
So we have this year remaining and next year to get everybody to have them.
Correct. Yep.
How many of the flock cameras do we have deployed at the moment?
12. Yes, 12.
Okay, and this is replacement 6 or additional
I think-
6?
No, I think it's just.
I
maintenance
think the
costs.
sheriff's office has 6, and I think the state's attorney's office got some.
Yes.
This, I think, is just the maintenance amounts on the 6 that the sheriff's office got. Is that correct?
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, annual maintenance. I'm
Yep.
sorry. I should. Yeah. Okay.
And, we talked about moving it to their regular budget, but this is where they put it for now.
All right. Any committee have any questions in regards to capital? All right. Well, Derek, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
If anybody needs
absolutely.
clarification or wants explanation on numbers, I can easily give it to you. So just let me know.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No kidding.
Right on schedule.
Look at this. Jackie, we're on time. It's hard to believe. I was a half hour behind Tuesday, so I'm getting, right now I'm getting an A from Jeremy over there. Always feel like it anyway. The farmer's lament. Yeah. I don't know who owns a couple airplanes. One's bad enough.
Good
Oh,
morning.
well,
Good morning.
Good
How are
morning.
you? Jason?
Jason,
Jackie,
nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Chief Judge Jackie Ackert, thank you for coming in. And basically what we're doing, because we have new faces around the table, asking all the department heads to do a quick overview of their office and kind of talk about what you guys do and all that, and maybe highlight some changes that you anticipate for the next year. And then we'll get into the numbers. So,
Sure. So I'm Jackie Eckert. As just explained, I'm the chief judge of the circuit. I'm the presiding judge in Lee County. So I'm overseeing the judiciary here in Lee County and in the circuit. We do daily business, crimes, civil cases, everything. You'll see in our budget, it's pretty straightforward. Judges are state employees, so the county doesn't pay our salaries, but the county's on, under the law, has to provide the office, the equipment, et cetera. So mostly what you'll see in my budget, simply that. I have 2 employees. One would be Jennifer Four that works in Judge Klon's office, the administrative assistant, and that would be a county employee. And then Bonnie Rodriguez is the administrative assistant to the presiding judge. So as presiding judge rotates, she keeps her position. She just serves a different person. She's kind of the right-hand man of me anyway, and does most of the interaction with the county for me.
okay. Very good. So let's get into, what changes do you see in your office this upcoming year?
Well, I don't know that I see any changes other than what might interplay with the public defender's office, if any changes happen there.
Mhm.
I know the last couple of years I've told you that when Bob Thompson retires, I'd like to see us go to a full-time public defender. Right now, we have contract public or part-time, Bob and his assistant, and then we have the contract employees that you see in my budget. If we move to the full-time public defender, then I would give up one of my contract positions because we wouldn't need it anymore. So that's and that I think is the $36,000 salary for Tom Murray currently serves in that position. So if we have a full-time public defender, they would take back that docket, so we wouldn't need that contract. So if you move to the full-time public defender, you get the state reimbursement that Charlie, I think, can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 2/3 of the salary. And the public defender is 95% of the state's attorney's salary? Okay. Okay. So it's 90 now?
Maybe you shouldn't
Okay.
retire. It's gonna be okay.
Well, so if you move to full-time public defender, the salary is 90% of the state's attorney's salary, but the state reimburses 2/3 of that. And that's not a shell game. They actually do reimburse that. And then I would give up my one contract position, which would save you 36,000. I know Bob's ran the numbers. It actually saves the county money if we do it. So that's the only change I see in my budget is if you move to the full-time public defender, I would take out a contract position.
Okay. So contract services incorporates what all together?
Okay, there's a couple of different line items here for contract. I have currently 4 positions that are attorneys that are contracted. So we have the guardian ad litem position, which serves in the role as guardian ad litem for all juvenile cases. And I believe she's paid 42,000, I think, is what she's contracted for. No benefits, these are all just salaries. Then I have conflict attorneys for our criminal cases. So we currently have 3 of those, I believe. So that's one aspect of contract. The other contractual services line item covers things such as fitness examinations. Anytime there's a question raised as to a defendant's fitness, we have to order a fitness examination. We have to pay an evaluator to perform that evaluation. There are other evaluations that we may have to pay for in civil cases. At times, we have to pay for a guardian ad litem or mediation fees. There's a lot of, since the state moved to a lot of fee waivers, they shifted that burden to the county to pay for. So that's what you'd see in my contractual services, some of those things. And that varies. We might also, outside of the contracted attorneys that I have, there may be occasions where there are other attorneys that are assigned to cases, especially when you get into like a juvenile court case, there might need to be like 6 attorneys because of conflict. So then we have to pay ones that are not contracted with us. And those are on an hourly rate, and the hourly rate's $150 an hour now. So that money all comes out of that contractual services.
Any other questions for under Jackie's area? Boy, you're getting off easy.
But one
Mine's one
question-
of the simplest
I know,
budgets
you're-
there is.
it is.
Was there a pun there?
Get off easy.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
He said you're getting off easy, and I asked if that was.
Oh. Sorry.
So
Sentencing.
grant revenue is used, that's from the public defender.
Well, there is a public defender grant. So there's public defender funding right now that we've had the last 2 years. We actually do receive funds this year. I was just notified last week of the grant funding for the public defender. That money we use to actually keep contract attorneys. They all earn a little extra money through that grant. public defender. We've hired law clerks with that money. Whatever other services they might need, technology. We completed the entire rehab of the public defender's office. We have one of the nicest looking public defender's offices now. We were able to use those funds to actually bring Bob's office up to a level it should have been at many years ago, but we're there. So those are funds that are AOIC, so that's Administrative Office of Illinois Courts. They distribute those funds to the chief judges in every circuit. The chief judges determine where that money should be spent. I have 5 counties, so we distribute it between the 5 counties. Then I let the presiding judges in the other counties determine how that goes. And then that's audited by AOIC. That actually, the money funnels through our treasurer's department, but it's actually controlled by the chief judge, and AOIC does all the auditing and reporting requirements. We do get it again this year. I don't think we're ever going to get it again because, I don't know if you followed the news, they're trying to get a statewide public defender office established. It was passed by the legislature. It's sitting on the governor's desk. The $10 million statewide that they've been distributing between the counties for public defender funding will be going to that statewide office. So there's some speculation as to whether we'll receive half the grant next year because that officially starts January 1 of 27.
What would be the function of this new office?
Good question. The way the public defender system runs now, the circuit judges in every county vote on hiring or firing a public defender. There was a couple of groups, mainly out of Cook County, that didn't like that the judges had anything to do with hiring or firing public defenders. So they pushed for an independent office. When this law goes into effect, we'll no longer have control over who's our public defender local. So we did get a compromise in that now they're letting us, the chief judges, be part of a local nominating committee with whoever becomes the state public defender. And then that committee will pick a person to be the public defender, and then that goes to another state board that consists of 4 appointees by the governor, 4 appointees by the legislature, and 3 appointees by the Supreme Court, I think is the composition. Yeah. Yeah, no. Believe me, there's a lot of misinformation out there about this public defender. I don't want to get on my political soapbox, but I didn't like the system. The chief judges took a stance against the system. The Illinois State Bar Association took a stance against it, and the legislature passed it. But it's not signed by the governor yet. If he does sign it and it creates this office of state public defender, in theory, we're able to appoint cases to the state public defender. I don't know why.
And that office will then determine who the Lee County Public Defender is, and that's
By committee. And
by committee.
So the state public defender gets to pick a couple of candidates, and the chief judge gets to pick a couple of candidates to present to a local nominating committee. And then the local nominating committee picks someone and sends to the other committee, and then the other committee approves or
You have a committee
disapproves.
to form the committee.
Correct. Correct.
Gotta love state government.
So Jackie, I sit on claims, so I see those contract go through in the grant. And so you believe you'll have it for another 6 months only?
Well, we're going to have it for this year. So I just received an
Fiscal year
email last
26.
week. Yeah, and so
Okay.
because the state's on a different
Yeah,
fiscal year
right,
than the
and-
county, we will receive a distribution in the next, I expect, no later than September.
Okay.
And my number is not going to be exact, but I think Lee County was allocated 98,000. Then Carroll County was allocated the same amount. And as the chief judge, I'm able to reallocate funds from Carroll County as needed to other counties in our circuit.
Okay.
Carroll County is quiet. They don't need 98,000. I can only allocate more than, everyone's given 50. Every county, other than Cook, is excluded from this, but every county in the state gets 50,000. And then there's this formula they use to get to the higher number. So I can take 48,000 from Carroll County and redistribute it. And my intent is to redistribute that between Lee, Ogle, and Stevenson,
Okay.
the three bigger counties. And so we're going to get somewhere around 113 or 115.
Okay.
So
I was just curious. Thank you.
your 5 counties are what?
Lee, Ogle, Stevenson, Carroll, and Joe Davies.
Not Whiteside.
No, they're 14th Circuit.
Okay. Rita, is there anything you wanted to point out in Judge's budget? Okay. Jackie, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Any questions? Oh, I do want
Yeah.
to say this.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you and the entire county board. If you've not been to the courthouse lately, you should come look at it. It's beautiful. The new courtroom is great. The flooring, everything looks really nice. It is my intent to hold an open house later this fall. There's a couple final things that need to be done to finish it off. And then I will be sending out an invite, and I hope you all can join us. But it looks nice, and just wanted to thank you for approving all of that.
Good.
I think you'll see, I think in my capital expense, I proposed finishing the 3rd floor. The only things not refloored on the 3rd floor is the courtroom and the offices and in one little conference room. It's not quite as daunting as what we had on the 4th floor, but
So this allows us to keep calling it the new courthouse.
You
even
can.
though it's
Right.
20
Yes,
some,
yes.
25 years old or whatever.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it is absolutely lovely.
And the technology that we have in the
Mhm.
courtrooms now is
Amazing.
absolutely, it's state of the art and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
the state did
but-
give us $1 million grant for that technology and it's fabulous. I mean, we're state of the art.
Yeah.
We're not just a little rural
Yep.
community. We've got
Good.
state of the art stuff. And I think Bob and Charlie and some are going to work on some artwork for the hallways on the 4th floor.
Oh, yeah.
And now, thanks to maintenance department, we have those nice little curtains in your courtroom for the grand jury, rather than cardboard tape.
Yes, yeah, we have, and actually, you probably haven't been there since, but we did get window tinting too
Oh.
recently, and so now from the courtrooms looking into our back hallway, you're not gonna see all the traffic back there, and the jury doesn't have to
I'll see
stare
that
at
Friday
it.
when I come.
You will. You'll see it.
Well, thanks.
you.
again,
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, since we were talking about public defender, Bob, come on down. Yeah.
Charlie.
He decides. That's how it is, so. Reed, Jim, Nancy, Jason, welcome. Jen, good to see you again. And Mike, good to see you again.
Very good. Good memory.
So yeah, I'll get you kind of up to speed on what I know about the history of the office real quick. Then we'll jump right into the full-time and some of the issues that we're going to face in the year ahead. I'm not certain, but I think around the late 1970s, our public defender's office became into existence. And I think that was through David Fritz. I'm not positive, but he was the longest standing public defender that I knew of before I'm at 30 years now. So he was there for about 17 years and then became a judge, and he was succeeded by Paul Whitcomb. I was brought on as an assistant, and then I succeeded Paul. So I think that was 20 years ago when I succeeded him. Been in the office since 96. It's always been a part-time office. It's never been full-time. Somewhere along the way, maybe 15 years ago, the legislature passed the full-time public defender language in the statute that provided for your discretion. If you wanted to make it full-time, then the reimbursement would still be the same, 66 2/3 of my annual salary, which currently is being paid. But you would raise my salary to 90% of the state's attorney's salary. At the time, it was not really endorsed by the county board. And then later on, it started to become a good idea, ultimately saving the county board a few $1,000s if Judge Ackert were to get rid of one of her contract players. Now we have this legislation, which, by the way, I publicly opposed the statewide Public Defender Act. I wrote a witness slip and an argument against it. It takes away our local control to some extent. And we think we know our, our personnel the best versus a committee, half from Chicago, half from Springfield, and a sprinkling from throughout the state. But it's coming. I mean, the governor did support it when it was in the House and the Senate, so he hasn't signed it yet. I'm expecting it will be signed or become, law by operation of 60 days on his desk, and it just happens. In any event, that process then would start the creation of the public defender statewide next July 1st. And then come January 1st, 2027, it would kick in to where they're deciding, who the department head is going to be. It's going to be full-time. There's no choice. And I'm giving some comfort in knowing that my successor, whoever that is, will be appointed by Judge Ackert because my retirement date's going to come in before next July 1st. And our association, the Public Defender Association, has given us some assurances that whoever is in place isn't going to be removed at the time. And that's reassuring, particularly if we have someone who comes on board that would have a long tenure with Lee County.
Bob, I didn't realize that, so every county is going to be mandated to have a public defender.
Unless,
A
unless they
full-time
merge
public-
the counties. There's options there that we don't know what it's going to look like yet. But
Because I'm envisioning Alexander County that has, 2,000 people in the whole county.
that would likely get merged with other counties.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But, right now, we're surrounded by full-time public defenders. Ogle
Right.
County, Stevenson County, Winnebago County, DeKalb County, Whiteside County, even though they're not in our circuit.
Carroll
So it's coming. Carroll, no, they're not full-time yet. Reasonably sure there's no way. Yes, yeah, it'd be impossible. So anyhow, I'm still not at a full-time level. We've discussed it, and at this point, I plan on retiring April 3rd of next year. That's because my first assistant, Attorney Lath, would be retiring January 1st. So that gives Judge Ackert time to announce the position, the opening, and then ideally I would bring on my successor in January so that I can be there to kind of usher in the next, tenure of the full-time or not full-time public defender, at least for the rest of that year. My budget as submitted, and I'm sure it's up here by now, I just did a 3.5% across the board projections for next year, from the reimbursements to the health insurance to the salaries, with the exception of supplies. As Judge Ackert said, we're state of the art now, and it's thanks to a grant that we didn't have to come to the county board for. I don't need 7,500 in supplies. I didn't even ask for that last time. I don't know that I need 5,000. I mean, but that's what I put in there. And then training and conferences, I left that static because Judge Ackert has been instrumental in paying for our training through that grant. So it's been nice. We may be returning some money to you on that,
Great.
on that count. Everything else is just, guesswork, the kind of work you guys are going to do to decide what's going to happen. When I did this proposed budget, I didn't know about the statewide act, whether or not it was going to pass. I didn't know, of course, if the governor was going to sign it. I didn't know my retirement date. I had told this body last year that my latest date would be December 1st of 2026. Because of the statewide act, because of its implementation timing, I want to get out of here so that our judge has a high chance of selecting personally who my successor is without a statewide committee doing so. So I'd have to get out before it gets going. So I think that's good timing. I'm fine with that. And then I'll stick around for 3 months to help my successor get comfortable, handle whatever more difficult challenges might be there that maybe I'm more familiar with, because some cases do take a year or more to finish. And if I'm deep into one, it's no point in handing it off to somebody else. So as we contemplate then the full-time public defender that Judge Ackert was talking about, if you were to add a full-time public defender to succeed me in the budget, you'd be, instead of $135,407, you would be doing a budget approval of $181,800. You'd still be getting your 2/3 reimbursement. And after Judge Ackert were to terminate the contract player, if you pay at 95% of the state's attorney's salary, you'll get back about $10,000 from my current budget. If you pay at 90%, you'd get back about $20,000 for the time being, but that's going to change January 2027. So it's, even including the IMRF contribution, it's a money savings decision for the county to have my successor be budgeted for full-time, whether it's at 90% or 95% if you're anticipating the law going into effect. I don't think it matters either way in terms of gaining attention for the office vacancy. I think people will find it's a good position to apply for. And that's going to be, I guess I'm here to answer your questions on that, but either way you come out spending no more because of the reimbursement.
Currently, you're an appointed position.
I am.
Right?
Mhm.
So it's appointed by the county board.
Judge Ackert.
By Judge Ackert.
Mhm. You set my salary. And
county
the judge
board does.
appoints me, right?
How many cases do you handle a year?
Through the first 6 months of this fiscal year, we've had 85 felonies. That does not include juvenile abuse and neglect, juvenile delinquencies, extraditions, certain misdemeanors that we have to make coverage for. It varies year by year. I would say if you just take those felonies alone, we're well over 150 a year, and that's beyond the recommended standards for the American Association of Public
And
Defenders.
how do you do that part-time?
Well, it's not 20 hours a week. It's more into the 30s and then so, yeah. So it's what I inherited. It's the system I inherited. And since we're thinking of history, I think it's important also to note the system that I inherited with me as part-time had two people in my front office, not including my assistant public defender. And that was Mary Worley, who was our office manager at the time. She retired over 10 years ago. I replaced her with my office secretary and did not replace my office secretary, which has saved a little over $500,000 in that 11 years that Mary's been gone by not replacing her, because we've just got someone super competent. And her review that I sent across the hall last week was reflective of that. So we've got a real efficient office.
Bob,
and it works out well.
Bob, you forgot to mention that you also cover the daily bond call and weekend bond.
Right. So, yeah. I opposed that too. That was the Pretrial Fairness Act. I'm one of the very few public defenders that did oppose it. But almost daily, we're covering new arrests. So we have to meet with them, go over conditions or a combination of conditions for their release, or defend them in a petition to detain them. In addition to that, when the pretrial fairness came along, coincidentally, so did the requirements of these body cameras and all this additional discovery review that the county board has compensated me for. That's why you would see an increase in my salary over the years, because it was more time, and it continues to take more and more time. And thankfully, with Judge Ackert's use of the grant money and putting it to work to the right places, we've brought in 4 law students to this area to work as 7-Eleven licensed lawyers. They're working under a Supreme Court rule under my supervision. With any luck, they're going to come back to this area and stay here. 1 already has, and 2 are contemplating it. The other one went to Carroll County. And why that's so important is because we're losing defense attorneys. That's why we've got conflict attorneys from out of our county and sometimes out of our circuit. It's defense attorney work is not very preferable, I guess, to some people, because it's
How has the Safety Act impacted your operation?
quite significantly. I mean, it's added work every single day of the week. Yeah, from even including weekends.
And how so?
If somebody gets arrested for a detainable offense, then we have to meet with that person, usually by video conference at the jail, to go over proposed conditions that the state might recommend for their release, or if they're going to be detained, to prepare them for a detention hearing, to try to come up through an interview process with reasons the court would be satisfied that them being outside of custody would not be a threat to the public or perhaps a victim in a case. So it's building a case
Are they
essentially.
detained until that is determined?
They are. Mhm. Yeah, some of us call it a mini trial. We're really efficient compared to some other counties that I've visited where they spend hours on these things. And it's like a mini trial. Yeah, we do it a lot through what we call a proffer, which is, here's what we would expect the evidence to show. And the parties work well together. I work really well with Charlie's office and vice versa. And the court accepts our proffers as true as what would happen if we were to have a mini trial. But some
So I
counties don't do it
want
that way.
some clarity in regards to our process, Bob. Jeremy, do we have to, as far as when moving Bob's office to full-time, and we probably, remind me, do we have to do that by resolution, or we adjust the budget to reflect the full-time officer, and when the budget's passed, that includes that as the full-time?
You can do it either way, but we could do that reflecting via the budget and move it to full-time. But if you do want to put it in a resolution, you're more than willing to, and Charlie might have a comment on that.
But the only reason I think it'd be a good idea to do it by resolution, it's not necessarily the county board making this decision and choosing who this person's going to be, but at least then we have a paper trail saying when it went to a full-time position.
Okay, all right. So we'll want to do that prior to the passage of the budget.
I also
So that
think,
way it's included in the.
and I also think that resolution would also help with the state in terms of their reimbursement and how they reimburse. So if the state sees that the county is on board with this, we get a faster reimbursement, and they'll move forward with it.
Okay, is
So-
that something that we want to have on next week's finance? Because it'd be a simple resolution, I'm sure. Nothing complicated about it, so. All right, well, let's have that on next week's agenda then. So, any questions for Bob? I'll tell you, as always, always appreciate your work. Bob, you bring just a level of enthusiasm and every time you're in here and that's not a highly, high profile job that you do, but it's really essential to the
You've been
fairness.
30 years, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in my
amazing.
30th.
Yeah.
Thank you for that service,
Oh,
Bob.
thank you. Thank you very much. That
Absolutely.
really means a lot to me. I
30
appreciate it.
years.
All right, thanks, Bob.
I've sat here through a lot of those years with you and I appreciate it.
You
So
have,
It's been a good
Tom,
time,
for
Bob,
sure.
so.
All right, Charlie.
Ladies, gentlemen, Mike, how are you?
Good morning.
Hey,
How are you?
living the dream. How are you?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, told everybody, new faces around the table, talk about what Charlie Bunster is doing and the state's attorney's office and any changes, major changes in the office this upcoming year that you're anticipating and all that good stuff.
No personnel changes that I'm seeing moving forward here. Everything is going to be, just looking at salary line items, some increases for services that we use like Westlaw and other contractual services. And I'll dive into those a little bit more, but just as a bit of a background, my office has right now 5 full-time assistant state's attorneys, 5 full-time administrative staff. And then last year, the county board was gracious enough to allow me to get a 6th assistant state's attorney. We don't have one right now. What we do have, thanks to Bob bringing a 711 or an intern out from NIU Law School, is the prospect that if she passes the bar, which she just took last week, I believe it was, and she passes and she's sworn in November, then she'll be our new ASA.
Oh.
So hopefully that pans out. So then there'll be 6 full-time. And that again was a response to the Safety Act, Pretrial Fairness Act, and a tremendous amount of caseload and work that came our way after they passed that.
So,
yes.
So for our benefit, explain how that, because we know how, at a high level, how that affects, but your office, somebody gets arrested, How does that feed into what your office does?
So we have to make a decision at that point or work with law enforcement with the decision on whether or not somebody can actually be detained. There is a list of offenses and circumstances to which we can detain somebody. It used to be that the judge was able to just detain whoever they wanted to by setting bond, but bond is no more, so there's no set amount of bond, and it's just whether or not those circumstances exist for us to be able to do so. So we go through that, determine if there are circumstances that allow us to do so, and we are in fact going to file a petition to detain somebody. That's a process in and of itself because you have to put in factual allegations that are detention eligible. You have to discuss why this person specifically should be. So there's a whole new form that we're going through and a whole new process that we're going through to be able to do so. The detention process, again, like Bob was saying, if we are going to, we discuss with the public defender's office trying to get that hearing set. When somebody's going to be detained, or we're doing the jail call, that's 1 o'clock on every day, sometimes on weekends when we discuss with them that we're going to do this, then we set it over till Monday, but there's always the conditions area that we have to get into as well. I realize I'm sprinting through this, so if there's anything else, just jump in.
I'll throw one of the
Sure.
things is the video feed from the body cams.
Yep.
And that, some person from your office has to review that.
Correct. So all of the ASAs and including some of the administrative staff is going through and reviewing body cam footage because now that we have that in place, which was mandated by law, and I think it's wonderful, it's great evidence for us. But now we have to go through and make sure that what we're releasing is appropriate for release as well, because there could be circumstances when there could be over the radio another call for a juvenile related matter, which is protected, and we need to make sure that that isn't included in our disclosure. So every assistant state's attorney, myself, we're all going through body cam footage, and it's hundreds of hours of body cam footage that we didn't have before. And again, I'm not complaining because it is really good evidence for us and gives us an overall picture, but it is just one more step that we have to take. So to kind of jump back to what we were talking about before with all of that, the detention hearing has become, like Bob said, a bit of a trial in and of itself. And even if we're going to have some issues in terms of what conditions we want to have on somebody, should they be released, we have to prove that that condition is warranted based on the circumstances and continue to do that. A lot of times before, like Bob said, we have a working relationship that we just give them an order and say, this is what we're proposing, this is the bond that we're going to be requesting, and then we go from there. And then ultimately it's Judge Ackert, whoever judge is doing jail call, deciding what that bond amount is going to be and what reasonable conditions she wants to put on them. So it extends our jail call quite a bit. It also extends the amount of time that we do just on a pretrial status or a preliminary hearing status, just because now there's orders continuing those conditions, or there's orders that are going to be continuing detention, and it has to be addressed at each one of those statuses, whereas before it was just status quo whenever we're moving forward. And tremendous amount of paperwork that goes through my office to get that all put together, and time that's spent putting that together as well.
So, and I'm going to ask one question, and you guys can jump in. So in the case of somebody who is not allowed to be detained for whatever reason, and they go back to home, and I'm using, because I got a specific case in mind, they go back to Minneapolis, and they have a call. They're supposed to be showing up at a particular date. How do we get that person? How do we enforce that?
Cordially invite them to join us again for court, and then if Judge Ackert allows so, we can get a warrant, and then they may get picked up and may be released again, and then we just do this whole process over again.
Oh, really?
But the county has to go get them?
Correct, yeah.
Within 5 days.
We pay for that as well. There's an extradition process we go through, and
So there's a job for ex-county board members
Exactly.
that we could start, get a van and go start picking
what could
people
go
up.
wrong?
Right.
Awesome.
I think there's
All right. All right. I
something
see
to
another
consider in
line item.
retirement, Jim.
Whose budget would that go into?
Yeah. So we're talking about that though. Unless there is a new criminal offense that's been committed by that person, Class A or higher, where we can move to revoke their pretrial release. And in the scenario you're saying, it's not, it's just they don't show up. The most that Judge Ackert can do is sanction somebody for up to 30 days, but day for day applies. So it's really only 15 days. And at the end of the 15 days, they're just off going to do whatever they want.
There's
So we have
many
fun.
things I could say, but anyway.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting if there could be some sort of a statewide financial analysis of what this Safety Act has cost? What it costs?
No, they don't want to focus on that.
No, but if we
Well,
had, if
because
we had
they
the
didn't
real
care.
true cost of
Yeah,
what it is,
yeah.
then there could maybe be a discussion to make some amendments to it.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be an appetite for amendments to it. And if you look at the Cook and the Collier counties out there, they're going to tell you it's a great success for what's happened
And why?
because people are being let out of jail. That's what we want.
Well, it's a great success, not for, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think when we started, we were looking at the monetary damage
Oh,
to
yeah,
our
just the-
budget was roughly around 400,000.
I think it was over that with the 10% that the circuit clerk's office would receive. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but there's downstream costs that.
And we look at,
Yeah,
you know,
you know.
GPS devices now too. And a lot of times when we're putting somebody on a GPS device or electronic monitoring home detention, they can't afford it. So then we're bearing that cost as well. And we try to recoup it at the end of a case, but
Right.
getting blood out of a turnip sometimes.
You know, and Charlie talked about hiring one ASA, and we were competing for that person
yeah.
with the larger counties. And what DePage added, how many? It was a crazy.
It was a
number.
tremendous amount.
Yeah.
I'd have to look back at my notes, but it was close to 100.
Yeah.
100 new ASAs
Correct. They built a brand new structure.
in one county.
Correct. It's a rich county, sure, but
Yeah. But anyway, okay, back to your budget, Charlie. Other
Yeah.
than because we could probably talk about the
Yeah, we could
Safety
go on for a
Act
while.
all day.
Yep. I guess just to hit some highlights about the changes in there. Again, what you'll see is the increase with salaries, and there's a number of things that I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to catch up with what's happened with cost of living, but also catching up with what should have been done in terms of trying to get them close to what industry standard would be for salaries for the ASAs. I don't think it's any surprise when my first assistant was here, Brian, with the years of experience that he had, as well as what he brought in the background, we were getting him at a steep discount. So I'm trying to stay consistent with what it should be in industry standards and surrounding. I know that Carroll County hired on a first-year assistant with zero experience, except for what she had in the public defender's office as an intern, and she was making over 70,000 fresh out of law school. So I'm trying to be mindful of that in the fact that, and Judge Ackert can attest to this as well, but we're in a bit of an attorney desert out here right now, where it's hard to get attorneys that are going to come out here, stay out here, build up a life here, and keep them around in the area. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that there is such a big disparity between what my salary is and what the other ASAs are as well. Certainly, I'm not trying to get them up to that point across the board, but again, it's hard to say that they're worth that much less than me, because they're really not. They're worth as much, if not more than me. because they
And
do
your
tremendous
salary
work.
is paid by the state, is that right?
The same way that they were talking about before, it's the 66 and 2/3, yep. And then as it's written in there too, any 100% of whatever increases they do from there are supposed to be covered as well. And I don't know if
Yeah,
Paul.
it's a goofy, they like,
Yep.
there's a portion that over time will just get closer and closer to more of your salary being
Yep.
covered. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, so that's part of it. Again, just the amount of work that's increased in the last couple of years. We've been taking on a lot more civil work as well. A lot of it being the zoning stuff, or it being just the county being sued and taking care of those matters where we weren't before, and we were having to contract those out. A little bit of it is also just considering the fact that at least 2 of the ASAs in the office have vested with IMRF, and certainly could go somewhere else and make double, triple what they're making right now. And I'm just trying to keep good people around.
Mhm. Question for Reed. The health insurance line item up 43%.
Again, that's just a mix of his staffing, I think. We
Between
had one
the increases
retirement.
that we've got. and-
Well, yeah, and we've had one retirement where they were not utilizing our health insurance, and the replacement does. So
There you go.
taking that
Okay.
into consideration.
That makes sense.
And you've got
Okay.
somebody going from, say, single to family all
Right.
within a year.
Yeah,
It's just a mix.
What I did was I took the most recent month's health insurance premiums that the county paid and annualized it. So, the most recent up-to-date data for his office, his employees. Obviously, they could change, but.
Sure.
And then I
Okay.
added,
Yeah, I mean,
I added
that just
one,
looking through there, that just stuck out.
that
So-
also adds that new ASA. I mean, it's a guess as to what they will, but it sounds like if they're relatively young, they're probably gonna be single, right? So I kind of added that in there as well. So that's, all you know, adding another body that's probably gonna be on our health insurance as well.
And another thing to keep in mind too, when you look at, what's being paid out of at the sheriff's office, they're all hourly to a point and they get overtime. My people don't get overtime.
Right.
On top of that, there's some slight increases here. The supplies line item. We had bought a huge bulk of copy paper many years ago. It was before I even became state's attorney. We ran out of that this last year. So that's the increase that you're seeing there as well. The appellate prosecutor fee, I put that up. I don't know that they're going to increase it, but they did increase it last year. I just don't know where they're going to stand with it this year. So I wanted to be consistent. If they did increase it, that's why that was increased. Postage costs have gone up too, so you're going to see that going up. The dues and subscriptions for Westlaw has gone up. I believe it's an extra 200 per month. And again, that's just how their contract is. It's
right.
And then there you're going to see the longevity too. There's a couple folks in the office that are going to have longevity bonuses. I think that covers.
What is the fee collected for drug forfeiture?
It varies. So it kind of depends on what the law enforcement agencies around here are doing and what they're going to be seizing. Sometimes it's not as much anymore, but throughout the year, we would see 2, maybe 3 vehicles that would come through. The Dixon Police Department used to have what was called a street crimes group that would be more consistent on doing forfeitures. We don't have that as much anymore because they've kind of gone away from the street crimes unit and they just have detectives that are stepping in and doing things and some patrol that are doing some things as well. Black Hawk Area Task Force used to have a lot more active members that were doing things that we would benefit from as well from the drug forfeiture. We're not seeing that as much anymore. So I think you're going to see that kind of going down.
Not because there's less drugs.
No, not at all. No. The meth is just
But
rampant.
less enforcement.
It's not necessarily less enforcement. It's just that there's not an opportunity for a seizure of some of these things too. They have to consider whether or not there's a lien on the vehicle too. And if there is, there's may not be worth going forward on it.
Okay, is there anything that regards your other funds that you want to highlight or?
No, I
Really?
think just as a background, because this is always something we look at, the contractual services, it's been reduced over the last year or two and not any problems with that. It's a line item that we keep around in case we have experts that we need to pay out and the like. As I've talked with Paul and Reed before, it's just if there needs to be reductions there, there's reductions there. And then if I need to come ask for more money on that line item because of the calls for the cases, then we can certainly go that route too.
Okay. You want to talk about the opioids settlement at all? What you're spending the money on there?
We haven't spent anything yet as far as I know. Nothing out of the.
Opioid settlement.
Yes, we have. Okay.
We just started funding reimbursement.
Okay.
The first one just came through. That's the small agreement that we worked on with them. And then here in the future,
We're looking at the recovery home, yeah. Yep. And I don't know what steps they've taken for the recovery home either. They were looking for, we just can't have nice things.
Technical.
That's going into county board
difficulties
budget.
I'll get
Minute here.
I'll get my other cup.
Charlie, how long have you been the state's attorney?
2019, October 2019. Anything else?
Any other questions for Charlie? Reed, you got anything?
I mean, we're talking about the opioid. I mean, I threw in, you guys tell me if you want something different, but I could basically said, here's what I expect the fund balance to be. So put the appropriations in there. If the opportunity comes up that is what we want to spend it on, I want it to be available. We can do it a different way. That was just what I did.
And we keep constant communication with the settlements that are coming in. There's a couple different ones that have been going on since I became state's attorney. And there's a schedule that they have that follows. I usually forward those on to Paul and Reed and Jeremy and Lee County Chair. And just so that they know what I'm seeing as well, you can kind of plan around it, but in the same regard, there's also cases that are still pending, so there may be an increase as well.
Okay. All right, there's no other questions for Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the work that you do for us.
Absolutely.
All right, that wraps up day 2. We've got day 3 coming up on August 19th. Of course, regular finance committee business on the next Thursday. And so we'll see you all then, but then our next budget meeting, which will be the final budget hearing day, wrap up the rest of the department heads on the 19th. So we all know what we're doing. Anything good for the cause further, or I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Naylor, seconded by Dallas. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, everybody.